Hello, everyone. Welcome. Happy Friday. Welcome to our reading of Final Destination 3. We have a small but very beautiful cast here tonight. We have Nicole, of course, playing Wendy, played by Mary Elizabeth Winstead in the film. We have Logan, of course, playing Kevin, played by Mr. Smarthouse himself, Ryan Merriman in the film. We have Rudy playing Logan, so don't get too confused, and playing a bunch of other people as well. We have Anne playing a bunch of people: Aaron, Carrie, Jessica, Julie, a lot of people's names, the cheerleader names. And then I'll be doing the scene description and playing some people as well. So let's get this party started. All right, FD3, aka Final Destination 3, by Glenn Morgan and James Wong, not Wan. Interior, Cessna C-18 2S Skylane night. A plane is going down. The engine chokes. The stall warning horn blares. Camera buffets and jolts as three terrified passengers and a pilot are rocked in the cabin. Tough to discern due to the chaotic motion, but the occupants appear young, late teens. The attitude indicator, artificial horizon spins. The pilot, Kevin Fisher, 18, in a Letterman's jacket, battles the yoke, buffeting hard in his white-knuckled fists.
Control!
His girlfriend, Carrie Dreyer, screams, clutching Kevin. On the altimeter, the long needle races counterclockwise. The short needle registers 1,000 feet, plunging rapidly. Wendy Christensen and Jason Wise clench one another's hands. Both are pale. Jason gags, suppressing a vomit as the plane drops 50 feet. Out the window, a small airport lights spin and twist as the plane nosedives. Wendy and Jason. Jason retches, composes, then vomits. In the cockpit, Kevin begins laughing hysterically. Wendy's hand on his forehead, vomit on his lips. Jason looks up to Kevin.
You are so dead.
We all are.
Wendy. Camera pushes into her as she glances out the window. Wendy's POV out the window. As the speed-blurred runway appears to attack the plane, an image flashes within the tarmac image. The face of a grotesquely malformed human male. Wendy. Just as the registers shock, the altimeter spins, then stops dead. Cut to black. Interior flight simulator, night. The black frame is quickly erased as a door opens, revealing a carny. Mullet, bad teeth, irritable since the crack eye wore off. He immediately winces at the vomit odor.
Oh, dude. Hell no.
Exterior simulator, night. A queue of high school seniors wait for a flight simulator ride. A banner offers, "See your town from above. Land at McKinley Field." 3/4 of the students wear t-shirts reading, "I survived Blunderbore." McKinley class of 05, grad night. The energy is high. Graduation is close and they feel their lives are just about to begin. Jason climbs out of the flight simulator, pale, embarrassed, and annoyed. The carny hands Wendy her digital camera, which is not permitted in the simulator. She's followed by Carrie, then Kevin, still laughing. Wendy looks to Kevin.
You are such a soul.
The carny holds up a restraining hand to the first in line.
Gonna be a while. Gotta clean out that dude's barf.
Wincing, students begin opting out of line. As word spreads, kids begin looking at Jason. Respected, no one will openly laugh at him, but Jason feels their eyes. Jason Wise, 18, is a humble all-county quarterback. Quiet, strong, and respected. Wendy Christensen, 17, is attractive, yet not the hottest girl on campus. Intelligent, tough, and positive, Wendy is an upbeat leader of school-related activities. They were voted McKinley High's cutest couple. Kevin Fisher, 18, is the jock linebacker class clown. Actually, he has a sharper sense of humor than most athletes. Not as handsome as Jason, but Kevin's no slouch either.
Now, tell me it wasn't cool to feel what that would be like.
Carrie eases Wendy away from the guys and lowers her voice.
I'm so sorry. Kevin can get so squirrely.
What is his problem? I don't even know how you deal, Carrie.
Carrie is silent for a beat, then leans closer, confiding.
Pretty sure I'm going to break up with him.
Wendy looks to her, surprised. Carrie nods.
A couple of weeks after graduation. I'm going away to Berkeley anyway, right? So fuck it.
Carrie's cell phone rings. As she digs it out.
Hello? Oh, hey, meet you there.
Carrie closes her cell phone and calls ahead to Jason.
Hey, Jay, they're ready for Blunderboro. Blunderbore?
Blunderbore? Yeah, I think so. As Carrie nods in a direction across the park, the camera pushes into Wendy, who looks off toward, from Wendy's POV, a roller coaster. Ominously lit, obscured by landscaping and structures, a roller coaster looms. Blunderbore, the giant in the Jack stories. As a coaster train rumbles along the tracks, Wendy, as the camera continues in, a cold breeze passes over her. Cut to exterior amusement park night, high dive ride. Screams. A circular gondola is released and free falls from the top of a 50-foot column. Below the ride, Wendy takes a photo with a Sony CyberShot Pro digital camera as the ride's brakes engage and the gondola slows. Wendy checks the camera's color LCD display until, off-screen, a slight electrical zzz draws her attention back to the ride. Wendy's POV. The ride lights flash within lettering designating the ride as High Dive. The lights in the letter V sputter and short out. The remaining illuminated letters read the High Die. Wendy reacts, unsettled, until Jason enters frame, hand on his nauseous stomach, and confides,
Simulator made me feel like shit.
Vocal side of their stomach.
Yeah, wish I could just blow off the roller coaster.
Wendy sympathizes, yet keeps his reputation in mind.
Made the pack with the team.
I know, but I just puked on the simulator. I'll look like the biggest pussy ever if I hurl on the roller coaster too.
I'll look if you bail.
He sighs. Good point.
We'll be fine, Jay. You'll be sick all day tomorrow. I'll nurse you back to health.
Wendy raises her eyebrows suggestively. Jason smiles.
Yeah, you're right.
Then, as camera inches ominously into him,
Life's too short.
the off-the-cuff comment rings unsettling to Wendy. As she considers, Kevin hustles up and wraps an arm around Jason's shoulder, flashing a gob of fried dough in his face.
Want a deep fried Twinkie?
As Jason suppresses a retch, Wendy eyes Carrie, who shakes her head behind Kevin's back.
Just go. You gotta get over there.
Please give me a Coke first.
Jason eyes her appreciatively, then starts toward a food shack, followed by Kevin and Carrie. Exterior food shack night, close, Wendy's camera, is set down on a picnic bench. Kevin immediately snatches it. Wider on the eating area. Adjacent to an order window and kitchen is an eating area, one of many in the park, with a half-dozen picnic benches. The area is encased by white lattice with a roof from which cheap ceiling fans spin. As Wendy grabs for her camera, Kevin leans back, holds the camera near the ground, angles it, and snaps a photo up Stacy Kobayashi's skirt as she passes unaware.
Give it! Not even my camera. It looks.
Wendy reaches out and grabs the camera, then holds it directly in Kevin's face, who struggles, laughing. She snaps the flash at point-blank range into Kevin's eyes. Kevin grabs his eyes, laughing.
Blind! Blind, I tell you!
Wendy sits next to Jason and has a sip of his Coke. She looks to the digital camera LCD, an extreme close-up of Kevin, fiercely overexposed. Camera inches in, suggesting there is more to be seen.
Could you please delete that one of Stacy?
Those pictures are for the yearbook. I doubt a shot of Stacy Kobayashi's camel toe is gonna make it in the most likely to succeed section.
The two guys subtly exchange a filthy look.
Oh.
Carrie looks to Wendy and, commenting on the guys, snorts like a pig. Kevin laughs. A buzzer causes him to look up off screen.
That shot'll sell yearbooks.
Everyone looks towards the direction he points. Wendy's POV, a water gun game. A half-dozen kids shoot streams of water into the mouths of plastic clown heads. Two fraternal twin sisters, Jennifer and Jessica Halperin, are seated on padded stools, firing their water pistols while surrounded by horny, pimply boys. The girls are perfectly tanned, wearing low-cut spaghetti-strap Von Dutch mid-drift tees and low-riding shorts exposing whale tail. We return to Wendy as she grabs her camera.
All right, I'm a total whore.
She heads towards the game, the water gun game. Wendy hustles to the last vacant chair on the row and quickly lines up a raking shot. She takes a photo, then checks the game's progress. Close on the clown head. The water jets into the agape mouths, eyes wide as if horrified. Wendy, as the camera inches in, inexplicably unsettled, close on a balloon. It expands, bursts. Wendy startles beyond the degree worthy of a balloon pop. The Halperin sisters scream. Jessica high-fives Jennifer while the gaggle of toadies applaud and cheer. The gamekeeper gestures to the choice of prizes. Wendy looks to the choice of prizes. The camera inches in. Wendy's POV. Prizes. A hanging row of cheaply framed 16 by 20 posters. Kurt Cobain, Aaliyah, Dale Earnhardt. All the displayed celebrities died unnaturally. Selena, Left Eye Lopes, James Dean. The gamekeeper grabs a picture of Marilyn Monroe and hands it to Jessica. Wendy recognizes the pattern as she slowly raises her camera. Wendy's camera POV, Matt of Jessica and Jennifer as they display their poster. An off-screen red light strobes, reflecting off the frame glass just as the shutter snaps. Wendy, annoyed her photo was ruined, turns to the source. From Wendy's POV, a ride, intense and spinning, drenched by bright reddish-orange flashing light. Closer, the ride's name, 180. Overlapping, obnoxious electronic hoedown music begins. Cut to exterior amusement park, Midway, night. An elderly bald man in black suit and red bow tie with Swifty Lazar dark-framed glasses hip-hops and pops to the overlapping music, a parody of the Six Flags mascot. A carousel spins in the background as the mascot moves to the group, engaging Kevin to dance. Kevin and the mascot's gyrations crack up Jason and Carrie. Wendy raises her camera to snap a picture, but three girls obliviously step in the way, annoyed.
Excuse me.
The girls turn, revealing Julie Christensen, 17, and her friends Amber and Perry, 18. Julie's initial reaction is to apologize, yet upon seeing Wendy, glares. Wendy returns the tension.
You're not a senior.
And like, what are you going to do, Miss Cutest Couple?
Mom know you're here.
You're a complete bitch if you tell her.
Wendy quickly raises her camera and snaps a photo of the three girls, then releases an I own you half smile.
Ruth, where you are.
Take a shot of this. Ooh.
Julie flips off Wendy with both hands. Wendy snaps a photo and walks away, leaving Julie steaming.
How cool would it be if, like, that picture of you was the cover of the yearbook?
Cut to exterior amusement park, Midway, night, overhead. A heavily weighted cylinder streaks up a metal pole toward camera and solidly rings a bell. Ground level, strongman game. Rising into frame, setting a sledgehammer on his shoulder is Hector Romero. 6'2", 230 pounds, sporting a Supercuts version of the latest jock-favored bad haircut. Hector is dressed in a worn sap number 99 silver and black Raiders jersey. He wears black shorts to his shins. Hector kisses his index and middle finger, taps his fist to his heart, and points to heaven. Props to Jesus.
Just win, baby! Just win!
Wider on Hector's girlfriend, Veronica. Heavy set. She collects Hector's third adult-sized stuffed animal. The 25-foot pole stands before a board designating degrees of strength. 5 feet off the ground is marked by a caricature of a skinny man with black-rimmed glasses, pencil neck geek. 10 feet, girly man, and so on. The levels increase incrementally in virility until the top of the pole is marked by an old-school Arnold Schwarzenegger caricature. The bell is painted to be the muscle man's head. Wendy, Jason, Kevin, and Carrie are walking past as Hector digs out $2 more and hands them to the game carny.
Yo, heck, team's riding Blunderbore now.
Fuck the team. Hector ain't leaving this here game. Hector owns this game. The whole team put together couldn't do what Hector's doing. Here, check this.
Hector lifts the sledgehammer and raises it over his head, grunting like a defensive lineman. Close on the plank, the hammer pounds the plank. Wendy snaps a picture. The cylinder shoots up the pole and nails the bell, painted like a face. It strikes so hard the bell is knocked off the pole. Hector screams victoriously while doing an end zone dance. Wendy's camera inches in as she watches the bell. Wendy's POV, long lens. The bell appearing like a decapitated head. The bell falls in slow motion, tumbling against the out-of-focus backdrop of the Blunderbore roller coaster. Wendy flinches as another coaster train roars above and behind her. The Doppler effect of the coaster train in motion sounds like tsunamis crashing on a shore, while screaming passengers have the timbre of ghosts wailing in a haunted house. Wendy's POV, the bell, normal lens. The bell falls through frame, leaving the clear background of the large roller coaster waiting ominously in the distance. Wendy. Her eyes remain on the ride, not understanding her own dread. Overlapping, a cheesy, pre-recorded Giants voice laughs.
3, 5, 4, 5.
Cut to exterior Blunderbore entrance, night. In the immediate foreground stands a giant human form, ominously guarding the entrance, designed like a medieval castle. Wendy, Jason, and the group. The ride's entrance is around a bend of trees. The group approaches, excited and animated.
5, 4, 5.
Closer on Wendy. She looks up to the source of the voice and tenses, freezes. Wendy's POV. Ride entrance. Camera is moving. As it clears a group of trees, a fiberglass statue of a medieval giant is revealed. The giant's face is exactly the malformed image Wendy saw in the flight simulator just before crashing. It is underlit, truly creepy and threatening. Wendy and Jason. Wendy is rattled, but tries remaining composed around the other kids. She looks to Jason.
What's wrong?
In the simulator, just before it crashed.
She pauses, as it's difficult to utter. Jason absently leans closer, puzzled and concerned.
I saw that face.
She points to the blunderbore figure. Jason turns and looks. Jason's POV. The blunderbore face in Jason's POV. The face appears much more theme park cheesy and not in the least bit threatening. Wendy and Jason. He is uncertain how to respond, as he doesn't wish to disrespect her emotions, yet feels no serious threat from her statement. He struggles for a reply.
Well, maybe there was a random frame that got blown up in the simulator program, or
You see it?
His reaction conveys no. He tries to remain reassuring.
I was throwing up. I didn't see nothing but my shoes.
It wasn't on the screen. I did see it, but more like felt it.
Ahead, the group is holding at the entrance but is impatient. Kevin calls out to the couple.
Jay, let's go!
Wendy, everyone imagines weird shit when they're scared. That's how a place like this makes money. But it never turns out to be what you imagine, never.
She eyes him. He's right, but her instincts are strong.
Come on, it's just a stupid ride. You're not even gonna remember it 20 minutes from now.
She sighs, reconsidering. Jason seizes that bead and takes her hand. They move off toward the entrance. The group of kids start passing through the legs of the giant figure straddling the entrance. The line bottlenecks as Hector's large stuffed animal prizes won't fit through the entrance. With a misogynistic command to Veronica,
You wait out here with them.
Veronica steps back and remains with the inanimate animals. Her expression matches the stuffed animals, appearing to convey sadness over not being allowed on the ride. Standing in line before the Halperin sisters, holding a hand-sized digital video camera, is Scott Cheek, 18, a mashup of Rob Evans and Bob Guccione, the fave flair of the former and the icky perversity of the latter. He sports Warren Beatty's hairstyle from Shampoo. Don't be fooled. Scott's an inexperienced virgin poser.
You two are smoking.
He holds the camera low as to shoot up angle at them. Scott Cheek's video camera, Matt. The sisters look away as they wait in line. Directly above them is the fiberglass blunderbore's crotch. Scott Cheek and the Halperin sisters. He smiles sleazy as he films them.
Ever seen a dick that big?
Scott Cheek's video camera. Jessica looks into the video camera at its operator.
I'm looking at one right now.
Wider on Wendy and Jason, they join up with Kevin, taking cuts in front of the Halperin sisters and Scott Cheek, whose touche laugh only further annoys the sisters.
You two are smoking.
Carrie waves Wendy and Jason into line.
What's the matter?
Nothing. Let's go.
Jason leads Wendy beneath the giant's figure. Wendy's POV, moving low angle, giant figure. The fiberglass giant appears to be staring directly at Wendy, exactly the image she sensed in the simulator. Wendy looks down and away, her eyes landing upon, from her POV moving, a disclaimer sign. Blunderbore is a high-velocity thrill ride. Due to the forces created by this ride for your safety, guests must be in good health and free from heart conditions, nervous disorders, weak backs, necks, or other physical limitations. No cameras or loose items. Wendy ramps to slow motion as she passes the sign. From Wendy's POV moving, the disclaimer sign. No exit after turnstiles. Below the warning, an image of a pointing blunderboard giant. I'll see you soon. Wendy proceeds through the turnstile. She's committed. Close on the turnstile. In slow motion, the spoked wheel turns, creating an exaggerated clack, clack, clack. Wendy, led by Jason, she enters a covered launch platform, designed like the interior of a castle. bisected into two waiting lines by a 5-foot-high chain-linked metal divider. Off-screen hydraulic brakes hiss and pop, augmented to sound like gunshots. As a brake hisses, Wendy flinches.
You okay?
Wendy looks up to him and nods. Behind them, overhearing, is Logan Green and Aaron Ulmer. They appear more like brother and sister than boyfriend and girlfriend. Intelligent and quietly intense, Logan wears a Bad Religion t-shirt while Aaron has a pair of eyebrow rings. Loners, even together, it is not really by choice.
Odds are just 1 in 150 million rides of dying on a roller coaster.
Jason wants to chew them out for eavesdropping, yet the information is hopefully reassuring to Wendy.
More likely to die driving to an amusement park than dying at one.
Wendy forces a smile and turns away while Kevin and Jason exchange a look of, what freaks? In turn, Logan and Aaron exchange a nonverbal dislike of the jocks. The roller coaster attendant. Before a series of angled gates leading to the coaster train, a roller coaster attendant asks the head of the line,
How many? 2? Gate 1.
He directs them to a boarding gate. Wendy, Jason, Kevin, Carrie, and Logan. Jason looks around puzzled.
Where's the team?
Logan and Aaron talk to one another.
The physics assure your safety.
Concur.
A roller coaster is just an elemental physics, conversion of potential energy to kinetic energy.
The camera pushes in on Wendy, affected by an increasing sixth sense as she hears the following.
Human anxiety is derived from the sense of loss of control.
Wider. Carrie stands on her tiptoes and points to the other line across the metal divide.
Oh, they're all over there!
Carrie points to the line on the other side of the chain metal divide. The roller coaster attendant raises 3 fingers to the head of the line and directs the passengers toward a gate.
3, 2, take gate 3. 1, take 4.
The line moves up. Wendy, Jason, Kevin, and Carrie. Jason rises on his toes and looks through the fence divide at 10 boys, the offense of the McKinley football team.
Yeah, yo! I'm over here. No one told me the play.
Through the fence, the offense, the team turns and lights up upon finding their natural leader. 10 football players, including the team's flashy wide receiver, Trevor Powell, begin releasing their young energy and testosterone, waving Jason over.
Get your ass over here!
Jason and Wendy. He hesitates, then turns his head 1/4 to check Wendy. She reads it and appreciates his concern. In turn, she considers his situation and suppresses her anxiety.
Go ahead, Jay.
Before she completes her sentence, however, he calls out.
I don't want to be a hassle. Just go ahead.
The team erupts with intense protest.
County championship! Garfield High, fourth quarter. 1:35 on the clock, down by 6. McKinley quarterback Jason Wise steps into the huddle and says, "We're gonna drive. We're gonna score. Then we're gonna go ride Wonder Tour!"
A thunderous cheer as the team begins to pogo. Jay! Jason beams, yet remains humble and cool. Pumped by the emotion, Kevin nudges Jason with an elbow as if, let's go, and starts to climb the fence. On the opposite side, several offensive linemen stop Kevin's progress. You weren't in that huddle, K-Fish.
Shit.
What's bullshit was our defense. Jay wouldn't even have the time to drive if our D had held.
Hector charges out of the pack and toward the fence, furiously flipping off the offense, who collectively laugh. Carr holds 12. Our QB makes 11. Team manager is 12. Carrie beams as the team chants, Carrie, Carrie. She hops the fence and is swarmed as she lands on the other side.
I can't go, but she can?
She was in the huddle with the water bottles.
The team begins another peer pressure cooker chant. Jay. Close on Wendy. The camera follows as she rises on her toes and leans into Jason's ear. Camera pushes into her mouth and his ear.
You're right. Life's too short.
Jason turns and looks to her. Wendy kisses him and jokingly tries lifting him over the fence. Jason kisses her back, then starts to climb over, causing an uproarious cheer. Jessica and Jennifer Halperin, Hector, and Scott. Scott Chica is right on the sisters' backs. From his neck, he displays a metal mud flap girl silhouette.
Like this? Want it on the wacky ladder. No, that ladder that wobbles. I like this. It's old school. I'm old school.
Impatient, the girls flash Hector a smile. He allows them to scoot past, cutting ahead of Kevin and Wendy. Scott tries to follow, but Hector cuts him off with a glare. Wider. As Jason throws his leg over the divide, he leans to Kevin.
Keep an eye on her for me. She was kind of weirded out before.
Jason climbs over the fence and drops down into his offense. High fives all around. The ride attendant. Camera pushes into him as he looks to Wendy and Kevin. Wendy and Kevin. With a protective hand on Wendy's shoulder, Kevin takes charge, raising 2 fingers. The ride attendant gestures towards the boarding gates.
2, gate 2.
Wendy and Kevin. Wendy looks to the other line as she steps up to the gate. Wendy's POV. Jason. Although swarmed by his team, Jason flashes her a thumbs up. Wendy. Reassured, she smiles and continues towards gate 2. Wendy's POV. The ground. The gate aisle is marked with diagonal divides. The number 2 appears to elongate as Wendy approaches. The Halpern sisters awaiting gate number 1. Wendy moves into the gate, Kevin behind her. Suddenly, startlingly, a roller coaster car arrives. Hydraulic brakes hiss and clack. The occupants laugh, cheer, and release sighs. Hector and Scott. While Scott considers his next move, Hector signals 1.
1, gate 3.
Wendy. The coaster train in the foreground, camera pushes towards her. Wendy's POV. The gate. The restraining doors clack open.
Everybody in.
Scott Cheek, positioned at gate number 6, hustles up toward the front and pushes past Wendy. Scott climbs into the second cab behind the Halpern sisters. Kevin grabs the back of Scott's shirt.
Get out, sleazebag.
Everybody in their seats, please.
Just take the back.
Kevin glares at Scott while from Hector in the third cab.
Yeah, fish. Get in the rear. You're used to that.
Hector laughs as Kevin guides Wendy toward the back car. Kevin and Logan Green exchange a tense look as Logan and Aaron climb into the middle section car. En route, Jason calls out from across the platform.
Hey, Wendy.
As Wendy and Kevin are passing the middle cabs, they look the other direction toward Jason. Wendy's POV. Jason is about to board the second coaster train with his team.
I'll meet you at the end.
Close on Wendy. Camera moves with her. His words. Again, unsettling. Kevin's hand turns her toward the coaster cab. Wendy's POV. Coaster cab. Camera inches toward the empty cab. Wendy and Kevin. He holds her hand, helping Wendy inside. She doesn't need his help, and it's a bit insulting, but she understands he's doing it for his friend Jason. Wendy sits in her seat, Kevin beside her. The lap bar. Kevin pulls it down. Clack, clack, clack. He checks it. There's no getting out now. Wendy sighs, then reaches above and behind her to pull down the shoulder restraints. The hydraulics hiss. Hector pulls down the overhead restraints which lock over his shoulders, but has trouble closing the lap restraint bar. He's just too big, and it fails to lock. He looks up as the attendant approaches. Not wanting to get booted, Hector holds down the lap restraint bar.
Good to go, dude.
Double checking, the attendant pushes hard on the bar. Beneath the coaster carriage, a hydraulic piston strains and hisses. A closed circuit of pistons attached to each cab controls the restraints.
Oh, my nuts.
The first cab. The Halperns giggle while they wait. From behind and between them shoots Scott Cheek's hand holding his DV camera.
Dare you to flash your tits when we go through the loop.
Wendy raises her camera and lines up a shot of the roller coaster car and the passengers before her. As she takes a picture and the flash engages, the roller coaster attendant's arm shoots in front of the lenses. Wendy's POV, low angle, roller coaster attendant making a prohibitive gesture.
No loose objects. Give it to me.
Kevin and Wendy, high angle over attendant's shoulder. Kevin takes the camera.
I'll put it in my pocket. That all right?
The attendant considers, then nods as Kevin stuffs the camera into his Letterman's jacket pocket. Scott Cheek overhears the exchange and lowers his camera out of sight from the attendant. Low angle, the roller coaster attendant as he steps away from Wendy and Kevin and starts toward the operator station. 2 students jump a gate and hustle toward the empty cab in front of Wendy and Kevin. The attendant stops them.
Whoa. Next trip.
Yo, there's no one in it.
Wendy, the camera inches in on her as the attendant comments.
Wasn't meant to be, dude.
The roller coaster attendant camera sweeps into him as he reaches the control panel.
Here you go.
Close on the launch button, a clear plastic safety casing is flipped up. Wendy and Kevin. He lets loose a jock rebel yell as the camera pushes into her. Close on the launch button. Encircled by metal, a green plastic circle glows. The attendant's finger enters frame and engages the button. Wendy, the car jolts to a start. At the base of the coaster car, the guide wheels begin turning against the metal pipe track. Coaster car, high angle. The passengers raise their arms as the train departs. Wendy and Kevin. He nudges her, trying to get her into the spirit of the ride. Scott Cheek. As the moving car passes the roller coaster attendant, Scott pulls out his DV camera and begins taping. Scott's DV camera POV, Matt. With the backs of Jessica and Jennifer in frame, the car proceeds along the tracks toward the lift hill. Wendy. The train moves at a teasing speed. Clack, clack, clack. Exterior Blunderbore roller coaster, night. The coaster train approaches the 250-foot lift hill. Wendy and Kevin. The train momentarily pauses before beginning its ascent. At the front of the car, Jessica and Jennifer raise their hands as the steep climb begins. Behind them, Scott Cheek thrusts his camera between their seats and twists the lens toward them. Wendy. The cab's angle sharply increases. Clack, clack, clack. Wendy's POV ahead. The coaster car rises, climbs, the clacking becoming a bit strained and slow. Wendy takes a deep breath and tenses upon seeing, from her POV, the amusement park. The view is intensely elevated, increasing with each clack of the pole chains. 15 stories, 16 stories. The lift hill summit. Camera looks directly down the track as the car climbs, nearing the summit, 25 stories from the ground. Wendy, that torturous moment in which the train slows, strains to the summit. It's about to really begin, and there's no exit. Roller coaster car. It slows, nearly stops, inching over the lift hill apex. Reverse, top of the summit. A sharp 50-degree drop awaits the passengers as the car begins dipping over the crest. Wendy takes a deep breath. Jessica and Jennifer Halperin scream as the descent begins. Hector holds tight while releasing a rebel yell. Logan and Aaron are stoic as their hair begins whipping back. Roller coaster train hurls down the steep drop, slightly corkscrewing. Wendy, the car rumbles as the train plummets. Wider. The roller coaster train streaks into the first valley and immediately rises, nearly as high as the initial lift hill but with greater speed. Wendy. Once the sadistic rising tension is over, she can do nothing but try and enjoy the ride. It will be over in a moment. The roller coaster car train barrels up the hill and banks sharply into a turn. The Halperin sisters and Scott Cheek. Inertia pushes them against their restraints. Overhead, the turn leads to a sharp drop which flows into a loop. Wendy and Kevin laugh and scream through the turn. Their stomachs drop as the car sharply plunges. Wider. The coaster train streaks down the incline toward the loop. The Halperin sisters and Scott. He turns the camera toward the track.
Here it comes.
Scott's DV camera, or POV, Matt. The track blurs as the car tears into the loop. Wendy tenses, preparing to become inverted. Scott Cheek tries turning his camera toward the Halperin sisters.
Show us your tits.
Surprisingly, Jennifer is game and raises her shirt, knocking Scott's camera out of his hand. Wider the loop. The car is upside down as it curves through the top of the loop. Scott's camera begins tumbling straight down the diameter of the loop. Wendy and Kevin are inverted, rolling out of the loop. Hector is pushed against his restraints. The roller coaster train is 3/4 out of the loop. Close on the track, Scott's camera falls onto the outgoing loop track. Scott's camera's POV, Matt. The roller coaster car barrels directly towards camera. Close on the front left guide wheels. We roll over the camera and are jolted out of position. Twisted, one of the four wheels furiously wobbles. Under the coaster train carriage, the DV camera is bounced and shot into a hydraulic piston, which punctures, hissing and shooting oil. The Halperin sisters and Scott Cheek scream with fear as they're thrown forward against their restraint, which release from the broken hydraulic system. Hector is thrown forward. His over-the-shoulder restraints release, rising back over his head. He clutches the bottom of the shoulder restraints, battling to keep inside the cab. Wendy, the camera races in as the coaster car buffets, her shoulder and lap restraints pulling back to a worthless position. Wider, the coaster train dives into a corkscrew turn. Logan and Aaron are thrown back by G-force. They cling to the shoulder harness, pressed against the open lap bar. Wendy and Kevin. He tries holding her down with his forearm as they turn 3/4 upside down. Beneath the train, the wobbling wheel flies off. The remaining metal axle strains against the track pipes, causing sparks to spray beneath the train. Further along the coaster track, metal groans and strains as a fierce vibration ripples along the track and continues down the line. Down the track, the vibration and stress causes a pipe weld to crack. Wendy and Kevin are violently thrown from side to side. Wider, the car barrels into S-swoop turn, the track dipping. Jessica and Jennifer Halperin are showered with sparks. The roller coaster car shoots up an incline, then immediately cuts a sharp turn. Beneath the car, the metal axle jams into the track, torquing the body of the train against the rail. The first two coaster cars, twisting against the turn, the cars holding the halperons and the following one holding Scott Cheek tweak sideways. Coaster couplings under the strain, the coupling snaps in two. Wider. Jennifer, Jason, and Scott scream as their first two cars rip from the train and fly off the track. Front of the third cabin. The force tears the front of Hector's car. The ripped hull flaps violently as the coaster barrels through the turn. Hector. The violent mishap rocks Hector out of his cab. He clutches the sides, straining. Wider. The coaster train streaks downward, then rises before shooting into a double corkscrew. Hector. The forces are too severe. He's thrown from the car. Rear of the coaster car. Hector falls towards camera as the car's momentum continues. Kevin and Wendy. She screams while Kevin makes a desperate grab at Hector. The two collide with a bone-crunching thud. Kevin wraps his arms around Hector's body as if sacking a quarterback. At the side of the rear cab, Hector clutches at Kevin but slips. Hector manages to grab the side of the cab and clings for his life. Kevin reaches out and grabs the back of Hector's pants. Kevin pulls, grunts, pulls, but cannot get the leverage. Hector strains to get into the cab. Wendy grabs at Hector's coat, trying to help Kevin. At the front of the coaster train, the broken hull cracks away, flying back towards camera. Back of the coaster train, Hector, trying desperately to hang on, turns to the front. Hector's POV, the sheared hull flies directly toward him. Wider. The coaster train lurches as the broken hull smashes into Hector, tearing him from Kevin's grip. Hector's body is thrown from the train. He rips into a support beam before plummeting several stories. The broken hull ricochets off the support beams, spinning down the infrastructure, smashing into the weakened weld of the track. Exterior Midway arcade game, night. At the toss the football through the tire game, a McKinley senior rears back to toss a football. Hector's head enters frame and flies through a tire. The patrons take a frozen beat of shock before Hector's body crashes through the ceiling. Exterior Blunderbore roller coaster, night. The front of the coaster train rumbles towards camera, sparks jetting from the mangled third car. Further along the track, the rails reverberate. Down the track, the pipe weld, which had merely cracked, ruptures, creating a 3-inch rise in the track, certain to cause a derailment. Camera rises swiftly from the rupture to reveal the broken track lies at the base of the third hill of a 5-story high elevated speed run, before an elevated loop. The coaster train approaches. Wendy and Kevin brace their feet against the car, clinging to the raised shoulder restraints. The coaster train swoops upward, then quickly dips into the first speed run. Logan and Aaron. The dip causes them to leave their seat. Only bracing against the shoulder restraints keep them on board. They are thrown forward as the coaster swiftly rises before the coaster train, base of the second hill, dropping again. Wendy is lifted from her seat. Kevin holds her down against the cab. Down the track, the train flies into and over the third hill, streaking towards the broken track. As it rumbles over the brake, Wendy, jolted, rocks against the side. Wider. The coaster train, however, successfully negotiates the break in the track and shoots up into the first loop. Under the carriage, the axle grinds the track. A second guide wheel breaks away. The loop. The train is inverted, slowing down the chassis' friction against the tracks. Logan is thrown from the car. Aaron dangles for a moment, before her tenuous grip on the shoulder restraint gives way. Wendy's POV, overhead. Logan's body tumbles downward, followed by Aaron's, smashing on the tracks. Wider, the loop. The train's momentum is stalled, halfway within the loop. Wendy and Kevin, upside down, nearly still, push against the shoulder restraints. Kevin fights to remain inside. The loop. Unable to shoot through the loop, the coaster train begins reversing courses, through the loop, backwards. Wendy and Kevin, regaining velocity, travel blindly backward. Kevin, trying to slide back into the relative safety of the car, his jacket is caught in the raised shoulder restraint. Without a cut, the car turns, revealing a low-hanging support beam. Kevin's upper body hits the pole and is torn in half. Wendy is sprayed with Kevin's blood. His lower body collapses. The broken track pipe lies ahead once again. Speed run. What was the last hill of the elevated speed run has become the first hill as the coaster train travels backward. Wendy, her hair whips forward now, further obscuring her sight. The broken pipe track. The rear guide wheels collide with the raised track and derail. Speed run. Several stories above the ground, the rear cab is stopped by the impact with the broken rail. Inertia causes the front cab to rise and continue its path. Wendy's POV, the coaster train. The front end lifts, passing over her, until her cab is pulled back with the train's inertia. Wider. Upside down, torn from the tracks, the coaster train begins falling several stories. Low angle, looking up. The coaster train twists, cabs break free, bodies fall. Wendy is pushed back into the cab as it plummets. Wendy's POV, the ground, as the ground in certain death race towards her.
Give it to me.
We cut to Interior, exterior, blunderbore launch platform, night. Wendy jolts out of a frightened trance, perspiring. Disoriented and afraid, she looks up at the ride attendant. Low angle, Wendy's POV. Ride attendant, he makes a prohibitive gesture. Wendy and Kevin. Her eyes turn to Kevin before he speaks, yet anticipating what he will do and say. Kevin takes the camera.
I'll put it in my pocket. That all right?
The attendant considers, then nods as Kevin stuffs the camera into his Letterman's jacket pocket. Camera creeps towards Wendy as she looks to the front cabs. Wendy's POV. Scott Cheek lowers his camera out of sight from the attendant. Low angle, the roller coaster attendant. As he steps away from Wendy and Kevin and starts toward the operator station, two students jump a gate and hustle towards the empty cab before Wendy and Kevin. The attendant stops them.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Next trip. No, there's no one in it.
Wendy, the camera sweeps into her, shocked and frightened.
Wasn't meant to be, dude.
The roller coaster attendant, camera sweeps into him as he reaches the control panel.
Here you go.
Wendy panics. Intent on getting out of the coaster cab, she tries lifting the shoulder restraints, but they're locked down. She looks to the attendant. Close, the launch button. The clear plastic safety casing is flipped up. Wendy and Kevin. As he lets loose a jock rebel yell, Wendy freaks out. Close on the launch button. Encircled by metal, a green plastic circle glows. The attendant's finger enters frame and holds. Camera tilts up to the attendant, who hears a lot of weird shit in a day, but the timbre in Wendy's voice is intense. Wendy and Kevin. Kevin is alarmed by her behavior. She bangs against the shoulder restraints.
Let me off! Let me off!
Her panic is intense. Kevin looks across the platform. Second coaster train. Jason is in the rear cab, same position as Wendy. Shoulder restraints already secure. He inches up and tries to see her. Wendy and Kevin. Kevin turns back and tries to reassure her.
When it's all right, it'll be over before you know it.
Wendy's response is ratcheted up several notches.
Oh, it's gonna crash!
The roller coaster attendant hesitates. The joke is not appreciated. Jason is concerned.
Wendy?
The kids in line are impatient. Many of the teenagers, being what they are, mock Wendy and demand the ride proceed. The roller coaster attendant, succumbing to the crowd, he starts to press the button. Wendy, horrified with a total loss of control.
Hydraulics will rupture!
The roller coaster attendant once again takes pause. Now cautious and concerned, looks to the attendant on the other side of the divide.
That's pretty much out of nowhere.
Can't hurt to check. Take a look and I'll send this car first. The commotion has grabbed the attention of a pair of security guards, Bloodworth and Colquitt, who enter the platform.
What's going on?
That girl's on something.
Let him out.
Wendy. The shoulder restraints hiss and rise. Wendy leaps out of the cab, climbing over Kevin. Wider. The two security guards approach Wendy.
What's the matter?
Even while panicking, Wendy realizes this will be difficult to explain.
I don't know. I saw it in my I saw it in my head. I saw it crash.
She was a little upset before.
Looking to Kevin, Officer Bloodworth raises a pinched thumb and forefinger to his lips as if asking, "Been toking, has she?" Wendy reads it and defends herself.
No way.
Roller coaster train. The roller coaster attendant addresses the other seated passengers remaining in the train.
Everybody out for a minute.
A collective annoyed response from the passengers. Wendy sees they're getting out and, although embarrassed, is relieved. Until off screen, a collective cheer. Camera pushes into Wendy as she realizes the second roller coaster train, carrying Jason, begins rolling out of the platform. Wendy tenses, looks at the second car. Wendy's POV. The second car of the coaster train. A football player hides a DV camera from the attendant. Wendy charges towards the attendants.
Stop it! Stop!
Kevin and the security officers. Kevin is rattled while the officers hustle after Wendy. The roller coaster launch controls. Wendy grabs for the attendant who backs away.
Stop it, please!
Jason. His departing roller coaster train disappears into a tunnel. Wider. Each security guard grabs Wendy by the back of her arms and hustles her away from the people waiting on the launch people. The place erupts with excitement and gossip as the officers hustle Wendy and Kevin out the exit. Exterior Blunderbore entrance night. The door bursts open. The guards whisk Wendy out of the building, escorting her across the amusement park campus. She puts up a struggle.
Hey, ease up. She's all right. Let her settle down.
As they pass the entrance structure, the first loop of the Blunderbore roller coaster becomes visible in the background.
She'll settle down at home. What's your home number so we can call?
In the background, an eerie strain of metal and a thump. The guards quickly turn toward the roller coaster in time to witness a spray of sparks jetting from the front cab. Reverse on Wendy. Camera sweeps in, horrified that her vision is occurring. Kevin. Camera pushes in on him, watching in stunned shock. Reverse, Wendy. Camera continues as off-screen a roar of collapsing of metal and sickening screams changes her life forever.
Jason!
Camera pushes into an extreme close-up of Wendy's eye. Within her retina, the broken coaster train twists away from the track. Cut to black. Over black, a slow, mournful rain begins falling. Slow fade up. Interior-exterior hallway, McKinley High School, day. Camera is outside, looking through a rain-dotted window into a high school hallway, abandoned on the final day of the school year. A poster of Jason Wise, dressed in football gear and uniform, hangs in a memorial, encircled by photos of the other 10 team members killed in the accident, including Carrie Dreyer. Flowers and handmade teenage sentiments adorn the area. Several dozen candles in glass holders flicker. Inside, a figure crosses frame. Interior hallway, McKinley High School, day. Wendy Christensen passes the memorial without pause. Alone in the quiet hallway, she proceeds to her locker. A change is tangible in Wendy. Although not angry, depressed, or brooding, she is, however, much more quiet and intense. Having matured years in a couple of weeks, the rah-rah of school activities feels silly now. She appears to be hiding a burden or fear, which she does not wish to face or ask anyone for help confronting. The locker door opens, revealing a photo of Jason taped to the inside panel. She doesn't look at it. Rather, she quickly gathers her belongings. Then, without looking, reaches up, tears off the picture, and places it atop her effects. Hands full, she slams the locker door closed with a shove of her shoulder, then starts down the hall. Reaching the memorial, she pauses. Again, not looking to it, but sensing a presence. Forcing herself, Wendy slowly turns to the memorial. Wendy's POV. The memorial. Jason is handsome and strong in the poster. Wendy. Camera inches in on her, heartbroken, but unwilling to cry. She averts her eyes from the picture downward. Wendy's POV. The memorial, close. The candles flicker. Until the center candle inexplicably blows out. Wendy is afraid, yet desperate to not display it, maintains her composure. Close, the candle. An eerie line of bluish smoke rises, taunting. Down the hall, Kevin covertly inches around a corner, watching her. In the hallway, Wendy eyes the candle for a beat, then moves directly to a trash can and dumps the locker's contents into the garbage. Down the hall, Kevin moves out from behind the corner.
Wendy.
She hears him, but continues down the hall in the opposite direction and clears frame. As Kevin hustles after her, cut to exterior lunch area, McKinley High School, day. The last day of school is over. 24 kids hang out, most signing yearbooks, beneath the covered lunch area. Cheap fluorescent light panels line the ceiling. Logan and Aaron sit by themselves, defacing their yearbooks, marking encircled A, anarchy symbols, and rude additions over teachers' pictures. Hector, with a silver gel pen, draws the Oakland Raiders helmet logo atop his black graduation cap. The Halpern sisters hold court, autographing yearbooks as if the sisters were Hollywood celebrities, in a manner that their signatures are perfunctory while they continue talking to one another. They expect me to spend $200 on my hair for tonight and then put that square hat thing on it? No. Scott Cheek returns Jennifer's yearbook. Jennifer forces a smile, then reads Scott's sentiments. Her disgusted reaction is immediate. She pulls the top off a Sharpie and vehemently crosses out whatever Scott wrote. You are so sick. Julie Christensen, Wendy's sister, writes in her friend's yearbooks. Amber and Perry nudge Julie and nod towards the school building exit. Julie turns right back to a yearbook signing.
I guess I won't have to deal with her much longer.
The school building exit. Wendy exits the building, heading across campus, eyes down, avoiding any contact. A teacher, Mr. Martin Smith, hustles up to the door, anxious and tentative.
Wendy.
She pauses but does not turn around.
I'm so sorry to bring this up, but you haven't been to school, and would it be possible to get the yearbook camera back?
Kevin has it.
With that, she continues. Kevin arrives at the door and starts after her. Mr. Smith taps Kevin as he passes.
Oh, Kevin, Wendy says you have...
Ignoring the teacher, Kevin continues after Wendy. As Mr. Smith slumps, Wendy and Kevin. Kevin has changed also. Maturing in the past few weeks, he's left the goofball jock behind. His demeanor is responsible, yet without Wendy's guilty intensity. Kevin catches up with her, but Wendy continues through the rain towards the parking lot.
Only here to pick up my diploma.
Not going to graduation tonight?
Again, not angry and brooding, but matter of fact.
Had enough funerals.
Okay, so you're in a pretty fucked up place.
What? Everyone in black making solemn bullshit speeches about how a part of our lives are over. Time to move on. Same shit.
He reaches out and stops her. Wendy doesn't resist, but she conveys her impatience.
Then do it for Jay and Carrie.
Do what? If you die and there's nothing, then they're just dead. And they don't know. If they're in heaven with Lincoln and Gandhi and shit, care about your high school graduation.
Kevin bristles at her lack of sentiment.
I am alive, and I don't care anymore. Once I pull out of that parking lot, I'm so out of McKinley, school, the town, all of it.
You're not moving away, you're running away.
She eyes him, guarded. He holds his look and lowers his voice.
And what you're running from won't let you go. It'll follow you unless you deal with what happened.
Knowing he's heading towards discussing the vision she had before the accident, Wendy cuts him off.
Without Jay, what is there for me here? Me and my sister are like oil and water. My parents, they should get divorced.
I'm here.
She sighs, uneasy.
Kevin, if it wasn't for you and Jay being friends and me and Carrie being friends, you and I wouldn't. We don't even like each other.
That hurts Kevin, as he didn't see it the same way. Wendy sees she's hurt him and feels remorse, yet uses the emotional punch to avoid the topic he wants to discuss. She begins walking away.
Look, I made a promise to Jay that I'd take care of you.
On the ride for 3 minutes. You weren't making the promise for a lifetime.
At the lunch area, the students' eyes are locked upon her with a sense of fear.
Everyone talks about what happened, but you?
Wendy keeps walking, picking up her pace, head down, wishing to avoid any eye contact. Moves directly towards the parking lot, fishing her keys out of her coat pocket. Wendy. A flash of light, quick and brilliant, stops Wendy cold. She looks about for the source, but there appears to be none. Kevin notes her reaction. Wendy. Her eyes dart towards the lunch area. Wendy's POV, lunch area. Jessica and Jennifer appear highlighted by a ray of blue-green light. The kids stare back as if Wendy is a freak. Kevin has seen her in this state before.
What is it?
Wendy directs her eyes several feet above the students. Wendy's POV, lunch area. The area is covered by a roof. Wendy, puzzled, afraid, looks further upward over the roof. Wendy's POV, the sky, rain clouds. The sun is nowhere to be seen. Wendy. The camera inches in on her as she looks back to the sisters. Jessica and Jennifer Halpern. Above them, an electric buzz quickly rises in volume. Everyone looks up. Close, a fluorescent light tube hums, buzzes. The light flares, then the tube explodes. Lunch area. The kids scream and cover. Rattled, the grads look at Wendy as if she telekinetically caused the eruption. Kevin does not believe she caused it, yet senses she saw something before the explosion occurred. He looks to her.
What did you see?
Wendy. Before he can fully ask the question, she hustles off towards a Ford Ranger half-ton pickup truck in the parking lot. Kevin starts after her.
Wendy!
As she reaches her truck, he gives up. Exterior school parking lot day. Wendy backs out and guns the Ranger out of the parking lot. Exterior lunch area day. Kevin watches her drive off, concerned and alarmed. Around him, lightning flashes. It begins to rain hard. As Kevin looks up into the downpour and thunder angrily booms. Cut to interior tanning salon day. An idyllic tropical beach fills frame. The waves do not break upon the shore, however. In fact, nothing moves. It's a wall-sized photo mural. Off-screen, a door opens, accompanied by an obnoxious electronic bell. Beep boop. Jessica and Jennifer Halpern enter frame wearing raincoats and stand before the mural. Jessica rings a bellman's bell on the glass counter. Wider. The sisters stand at a glass counter of a tanning salon, no doubt located in a strip mall. The salon is clean but tacky. A teal sofa and 2 orange overstuffed chairs sit before a coffee table covered with dated U's and People magazines. Beach artwork and some erotically suggestive but crap artwork are displayed. The back door is propped open with a crushed soda can. Outside, unseen, a flurry of angry Russian. Yuri Yershov sticks his head in the open back door and gestures apologetically. 1 minute. He points to the phone and shrugs as if he's getting shit on the other end. Jessica and Jennifer wave. It's okay. As soon as Yuri disappears, they shake their catty heads. Every time we come here. At home at the salon, the sisters move to a glass canister and remove sterilized tanning goggles. I was thinking of going for 20 minutes in the Mueller. Remember we did that for all the funerals? The way we turned out was amazing.
God, but that was just a few weeks ago. We're pretty bronze still. I say we do like a tune-up.
She is sincere about the following. I just want to make sure we look good, for all those kids that died who will never get a graduation. Yuri, flustered and wet from the rain, hustles inside and closes the back door. A Russian immigrant, Yuri is the pastiest white person in North America, with dark circles under his eyes. He places his cell phone and the crushed Coke can doorstop on the counter. Extremely close on Yuri's cell phone, signal indicator. 4 bars, full strength.
Sorry. Cell phone signal is shit in here.
Wider, he looks to the phone and throws up his hands, frustrated. We can't hear you, Yuri.
Now, full power tanning bed, I think. Fuck with signal. I must go outside.
Use that phone?
She points to the salon's hardline on the counter.
I would, but she talks for goddamn ever. Then boss gives me shit.
His cell phone rings. Yuri cringes while the girls flash sympathetic expressions. As Yuri reaches for his phone, extremely close on Yuri's cell phone, signal indicator. The 4 bars quickly vanish one by one before his hand enters and removes the phone out of frame. Wider. Yuri lifts the cell to his ear and immediately moves about, trying to get a better signal.
Hello?
The sisters impatiently eye one another.
Just go out. We'll deal with ourselves.
Yuri flashes a thumbs up while heading towards the back door, engaging in a lover's spat on his cell phone. At the salon back door, Yuri charges towards the door, twists the knob, and walks out. Camera inches on the door as it slowly swings closed. Just as it is about to shut, fingers catch it from the outside. Rushed, continuing an argument on the phone, Yuri looks about for a makeshift door jamb. Just inside the door, in an offshoot hallway, is a wholesale box of tanning lotion. Yuri reaches inside and grabs a tube. Base of the door. The sealed, tapered end of the tube is shoved under the door. It works. In the background, Yuri's feet move away from the building. Camera inches in on the tube. The door, closing slightly, applies pressure on the tube. The tube lid is forced open. Pop. As tanning cream begins slowly oozing from the tube. In the salon, Jennifer crosses behind the counter and grabs some towels and tanning cream while Jessica moves to the front door. Where are you going? Jessica adjusts the hands on a back in 30 minutes placard tied to the inside of the door. She flips it around.
I'm not having anyone just walk on in when I'm in there naked. Ugh, please,
Camera sweeps into the
girl.
doors just as Jessica bolts the lock. Cut to black. Interior tanning room, day. Thunder rumbles outside. A door opens. Jessica's hand reaches around the door frame and clicks on the lights. Soft amber wall sconces glow upon 2 7-foot-long and 3-feet wide tanning beds. Each cobalt blue bed is placed in a corner against the wall with about 3 feet of space between the 2 beds. The room is decorated with a tropical theme. Blue sky and lazy clouds paint the ceiling. A plastic tropical palm tree, curved by trade winds, stands in one corner, while a wooden clothing rack with a circular top stands in the other corner. A metal air conditioning duct extends a few feet out of the ceiling and towards the floor. As the sisters begin removing their jackets and backpacks, exterior salon, back door, day, base of the open door. Rain pools beneath the tube of oozing tanning cream. Interior tanning room, day. A placard sits on the tanning bed atop the light tubes. This bed has been cleaned and is ready for tanning. Are you? Control panel. Camera inches in on a square wall-mounted T-Max series timer. Jennifer sets the time to 15 minutes. Once her finger clears frame, camera pushes in towards the word control. Jessica places her raincoat on the wooden rack. With its weight unbalanced, the rack begins to tip over. She catches it, sets it back, and places her backpack on a base leg of the rack. She moves to the air conditioning control panel. Close air conditioning control panel. She turns on the fan, sets the controls to medium. Buck booster. A gray box sits on the floor. Thick electric cables lead into it from the socket in the wall and out of it into the tanning bed. This device monitors the voltage levels. Jennifer turns it on, causing a rising electrical buzz. The LCD reflects 230 VAC. A warning card displays this device should never not be set above 250 vac. Wider, Jennifer pulls off her shirt, then removes her bra, while Jessica rummages through her own backpack, then slumps. Did you forget your MP3 player? Sucks, bitch. They have CDs. She gestures to a mounted 3-foot shelf above one of the tanning
Wow.
beds, which holds a half-dozen CD jewel boxes. Jennifer reaches up to the shelf. Close on the mounted shelf, Jennifer places her right hand on the shelf for leverage. Camera pushes in extremely close to the anchor screws as they are slightly pulled out from the wall. Jennifer checks out the salon CD selections. Celine Dion, Britney Spears. Dude, are we like the only cool people that come here or what? The choice by default, Have a Nice Decade, Greatest Hits of the 70s. As she returns the jewel boxes to the shelf, extremely close, wall anchors. Once again, pull from the wall, but do not fall. Exterior salon backdoor day, base of the open door. Enough tanning cream is oozed from the tube, then thinned by the pooling rain, that the tube is nearly flat. The door begins slowly sliding shut, while Yuri's argument intensifies in the background. Interior tanning room day, tanning bed. The greenish-blue tubes rise to light. A fan and motor begin whirring. Timing control panel. Jessica presses the start button. Jessica's tanning bed awakens. Jennifer sits on the edge of her bed in a pair of thong underwear, placing the earphones over her head attached to a wall-mounted CD Walkman. Jessica, laying flat on her back wearing tanning goggles, lifts her head and pulls out an earplug from her MP3 player.
You're wearing underwear?
Jennifer, while adjusting the CD player, Steinman says he gets off on tan lines. As she lays down, see you when we're done. Camera inches in as she reaches up and closes the bed lid. Jessica, camera creeps in on as her bed closes. However, camera continues towards a rectangular metal rod functioning as a handle. Exterior salon, back door day, base of the open door. Camera pushes towards the door, closing while the tube slips aside, buoyant in the rain puddle. Finally, the tube slips out of position and allows the back door to shut, automatically locking. Overlapping, a mutated scream, but it's a song. Beneath the opening scratchy guitar and pulsing drum beats of the Ohio Players' Love Roller Coaster. Interior tanning room day, Jennifer's foot moves to the music as camera tracks inside the eerie lighting from the foot to the head of the bed. Jennifer's POV through the tanning goggles. The frame is blue except for a lighter blue circle, center frame, through which glow two 400-watt face tanning bulbs. Wider. Outside the bed, silence except for Jennifer singing. Say what? Close Jennifer, headphones in her ears, tanning glasses on her eyes, suddenly bops to the disco. Camera pulls backwards, across the room until Jennifer's coat, hanging on the rack, enters frame. Camera tilts up to the ceiling, revealing the circular air duct. On the wall, the air conditioning panel. The switch flips to high. Low angle. Jennifer's coat. A blast of air jets from the duct towards the coat, causing it to sway. Wider. The rack wobbles as the coat sways, then falls. Plastic tropical tree. The rack hits the plastic palm, knocking it over towards the wall-mounted shelf. The plastic tree collapses upon the wall-mounted shelf. Extremely close. Wall anchors are pulled out of the wall. Tanning bed. The shelf falls atop the bed. Jennifer. The chorus of Love Roller Coaster kicks in, turned up. Jessica, likewise, lays in her bed listening to her MP3 player. The bed's motor and fan increases in speed and intensity. Atop the tanning bed, the lid is curved and acrylic. The shelf sits atop the bed, then tauntingly begins sliding down the top of the bed. Buck booster. Camera inches in as the LCD begins to mysteriously rise. 230 volts, 240 volts, 250 volts, 260. Tanning beds. The shelf continues to slide out the tanning bed. The leading edge of the shelf lodges into Jennifer's bed's metal rod handle. The trailing edge flips as it falls towards the floor and lodges into the metal rod holder of Jessica's bed. Like a penny lodged in a door jamb, the two tanning bed lids are pinned closed by the wall shelf. Buck booster. Camera continues pushing in. 300 volts, 310. Jessica. Her head rises puzzled. Her body is perspiring heavily.
Warmer in here than usual.
Jennifer, listening to the music, does not hear her sister. Jennifer's POV through the tanning goggles. The 400-watt bulbs rise to near blinding levels. Jessica wipes her forehead.
Did I set the levels wrong?
She reaches out to lift the lid, but it won't budge. Camera sweeps towards her as she tries again. Wider. The two bed lids are pinned shut. The harder Jessica pushes up, the more lodged the two lids become. Jessica screams at her sister. Jennifer, hearing Jessica, turns. The facial lamps above her explode, propelling glass into Jennifer's face like tiny bullets. She screams, "Ah!" as the bulbs begin flaming over her face. Jessica, camera races in as she tries seeing through the goggles and kicks at the lid. She sweats profusely, skin turning red. Jennifer, flames engulf her hair. She bangs desperately against the lid. Jessica screams. The plastic tanning goggles melt to her skin. Exterior salon back door day. Yuri hears the faint scream and turns. He sees the door is shut. He hustles to it, but the door is locked. Interior tanning room day. Jennifer cannot scoot up and out of the bed as a fan blocks her exit. Jessica cannot scoot down and out of the other bed as the opening is placed against a wall. Screaming, she pushes against the lid. Close, Jessica's arm. Her flesh blisters and bubbles. Buck booster. The voltage continues rising. Jennifer, unable to turn from the flames, covers her face. Then the several dozen bulbs begin erupting, each emitting electrical shocks and flames. Jessica, likewise. The bulbs in her booth erupt and flame. She struggles desperately to escape. Exterior front of tanning salon day. Yuri races to the front door but finds it has been locked. As camera races into the placard, back in 30 minutes. Interior tanning room day, wider. Flames lick out from within the tanning bed. Both girls are on fire, desperately kicking and screaming to escape. There will be none. Cut 2. Exterior cemetery day. Two caskets are in the same position in frame as the last image of the fiery tanning beds. Sun cuts through the clouds.
We may feel our own lives are not our own.
Camera pulls back, revealing the grieving Halperin family and friends gathered around a burial site amongst hundreds of tombstones. A non-denominational minister delivers a eulogy.
But I ask you to see how we are all equal in death's eyes. Whether the taking of young lives in tragedy, which we've suffered far too much of as of late.
Off-screen, someone's stomach growls. As the minister flashes an eye upward, a reflection from an off-screen object flashes in the minister's eyes. He winces.
Or the soft passing of the elderly in the night. Each night.
Growl. Then again, an annoying, distracting reflection shines in the minister's eyes. Scott Cheek and Kevin Fisher. Scott's mud-flap girl necklace is the culprit, hanging around his neck over his suit and tie. Scott is shifting because his stomach is also the growling culprit. Kevin eyes Scott, then scans the gathered and the surrounding area, appearing to be searching for someone. The minister takes a subtle step to avoid the reflection.
Death borders our lives. Our cradles stand in the grave. Our birth, nothing but death begun.
He is blinded by another reflection. He eyes Scott, annoyed. Scott and Kevin. Kevin stuffs the tacky metal necklace into Scott's shirt. The minister continues.
The hour, the manner, unknown. As you leave these grounds today, I ask you honor Jessica and Jennifer Halperin for the rest of your lives by...
Kevin. The camera inches in on him, considering the words.
Learning and loving as if you are going to live forever, but living as if you are going to die tomorrow.
As Kevin averts his eyes, the words, haunting. Wider. The mourners begin dispersing. The family places single-stem roses on the coffins. As Kevin searches the gathered, Hector passes, dressed in a black suit and silver tie.
These things suck, dude. Fucking dull. If you come to my funeral, bring me a PSP or something.
Hector continues walking while Kevin moves across the grounds with a sense of mission towards Wendy's sister, Julie.
I really need to talk with your sister. Is she still around?
Like, I care where she is.
Kevin eyes her, gestures towards the coffins.
Doesn't something like this make you want to put aside whatever beef it is you two have?
Julie averts her eyes guiltily but shrugs. Disappointed, Kevin looks off.
You were way more cool when you were a dick.
Nice. That's nice.
He spots something off screen and begins walking away until suddenly he cuts towards a large family mausoleum. Hiding behind it, he checks around the corner. Cut 2, exterior, another part of the cemetery day. Camera tracks across the cemetery atop a near-distant hill. Wendy's form enters frame, watching from a safe distance. Camera tracks around to reveal she is crying and frightened. Rattled, she forces herself to move to her small truck. As she grabs the door handle, she takes a moment to collect her composure. After a deep breath, she gets into the truck. As she starts the car, a heavy thud startles her. She looks to her rearview mirror and finds Kevin in the truck bed.
Oh, guess you do care.
Caught off guard, she turns defensive.
I was just getting stuff for my move. Saw the funeral, so
We need to talk, Wendy.
no, we don't. Get out.
And I think you know what we need to talk about.
No. If you're doing the talking, then it's about something stupid.
Well, yeah, maybe. It's about me.
But I don't give a shit. So get out.
It's about my life and death and how you can keep it from happening.
She tenses, averting her eyes from the rearview mirror.
Drive me home. If you're not buying what I had to say by the time you drop me off, fine. I'll get out and you're gone.
She considers, capitulates, and nods. Kevin starts to climb out of the truck bed, then pauses.
Don't you drive off.
Kevin hops out of the truck bed and quickly gets into the truck cab while Wendy starts the car. Interior Ford Ranger day. She punches it, driving off before Kevin can even shut the door.
It's fair, dude. You gotta drive the speed limit.
50 feet closer to your house.
Understanding he's rushed, Kevin quickly pulls out a worn spiral memo filled with writing. Been doing some homework.
All right. Look, I've been checking on what Logan Green said that night. Look, he's right. Chances of dying in a theme park ride are 2 in 250 million trips.
Wendy checks both directions, then, exterior street day, she runs a red light. Interior Ford Ranger day. Kevin places a hand on the dash. He quickens his pace.
The odds of 2 people, sisters, dying in an accident unrelated to the original accident are nearly incalculable. But obviously it happened.
He awaits a reaction but receives none. Wendy appears to be focused on getting Kevin home in the shortest time possible.
And sometimes there are patterns.
She drives, punches it. He checks his notebook.
Like Darius Marshall, a UN security guard, was injured on 9/11, then died in a freak accident on the Long Island Ferry nearly 25 months to the day.
It's New fucking York. There were thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands that escaped. More of them should have died in that time. Probably have died. Not just in weird accidents that have become urban legends.
But no one ever said they saw 9/11 in a vision before it happened.
Wendy knows where he's heading and reacts by exterior another street day. Wendy swerves around and passes a vehicle ahead of her. Interior Ford Ranger day. He braces against the dash, knows what she's doing, but continues on with increased passion.
6 years ago, a French class at a high school in New York was taking a trip to Paris. When they were boarding, a kid had a vision the plane was going to explode. Just like you that night. He freaked out and 7 people were taken off the plane. Just like you. On takeoff, Flight 180 blew up.
Wendy continues driving fast. However, Kevin appears to be breaking through. She suddenly eyes him.
Then over the next several months, all of them died in weird accidents.
Insert gas pedal. Wendy's foot eases. Ford Ranger cab. Kevin notes the speed decrease, reflecting her willingness to listen. His delivery slows but increases with intensity.
A year later, there's a huge pileup on a freeway, seemingly unrelated to Flight 180. What there was in common? So the girl had a vision of the freeway accident while she was on the ramp. Just like you. She wouldn't move her car, and all the people stuck behind her escaped the accident. Just like us.
Did those people die after?
And they could all be tied to the people who got off Flight 180.
We're not connected to them. I've never even heard of them. It'll just...
Wendy turns her eyes from Kevin to the road. Suddenly, she startles and swerves the truck. Exterior street day. A tow truck driver has stepped out from behind his truck, pulled over to the side of the road atop a hill, aiding a 24-foot U-Haul moving van. The driver leaps back as Wendy's Ford Ranger drives past. Interior Ford Ranger day. Wendy and Kevin take a deep breath. It's clear she's rattled.
Let me drive. This is some serious shit you're hearing.
I haven't eaten in a couple of days. My blood sugar...
There's a drive-thru. I'll buy.
Progress.
Exterior fast food restaurant day. The Ford Ranger drives down a hill and makes a right into a fast food restaurant. The tow truck and the U-Haul van can be seen atop the hill in the background. Wendy's truck follows the drive-through arrows towards the drive-through alley. The only cars in the lot are parked near the restaurant. The Ford Ranger waits behind a Mustang convertible at the ordering microphone. Exterior fast food restaurant day. Wendy takes a deep breath. Kevin looks at his notebook.
It's weird what you remember. You remember Logan's 250 million thing. I remember, no, more than that. It rings in my head over and over what Aaron said that night. Your fears from a sense of a loss of control.
Exterior fast food restaurant day. The convertible driver completes his order and pulls ahead to the drive-up window. A food service delivery truck pulls into the parking lot and drives toward the delivery area beside the passenger side of the drive-through alley. Interior Ford Ranger day. Wendy struggles to convey and confess her recent emotions.
I felt that fear from the second she said it. I thought what she said even somehow caused the hallucination, like suggested it, but the fear is more than just being scared. It's like a presence, a living thing, always with me.
She holds back tears.
At first I thought it might be Jason, but I know it's not. This presence, it's the total opposite of how Jay made me feel.
Off-screen, a car lays on its horn. Wendy looks into the rearview mirror, annoyed. Exterior drive-through day. Wendy's POV, rearview mirror. A husband and wife in an SUV are arguing. The husband takes out some anger on the horn. Interior Ford Ranger day. Wendy looks ahead.
Then, do you believe what I'm saying? That all of us who got off that ride are in line to die?
Exterior drive-through lane day. Wendy's POV. She finally realizes that the convertible ahead of her has moved forward to the drive-through window. Interior Ford Ranger day. As she pulls up towards the order microphone.
No, it's not only faulty logic, it's fucked up superstition. People die. That's how life works. 150,000 people a day. And how come if a guy dies of a plain heart attack, no one goes, oh, like he was eating French toast that night Princess Diana died in Paris. And then, oh, he watched her funeral on TV and now he's dead. Even with what happened to me, no. I can't believe what you're saying.
Kevin tenses, being mocked, and looks away, trying to keep from losing his cool. She senses this and backs off. She looks towards the order microphone.
Can't or won't?
If I believe it, then I've surrendered total control. And there's no hope.
Wendy's POV, the order microphone. A colored box with an inset LCD monitor. This display helps ensure quality control of your order and prompt service. Wendy, something about the display causes the hair on her neck to bristle.
I'm saying the exact opposite. I'm taking control, and I won't give up. I'm living for two lives now.
What are you, pregnant?
He glares at her. Behind Kevin, out of his window, the food service truck pulls beside the drive-through alley.
Carrie.
She catches herself, reconsidering revealing Carrie's secret.
That's a waste of time, Kevin. It'll get you. Someday. But then Carrie dies twice. Isn't once enough?
May I take your order? Wendy turns towards the order microphone.
Just a sec.
Wendy's POV, close. In the sentence, ensure quality control, the word control sputters. Wendy, the camera inches in on her, frozen. Wendy's POV, closer. The word control turns black, vanishes. Wendy tenses, sensing the presence. Exterior drive-through lane, day. The SUV pulls up behind Wendy's Ford Ranger. Now, with the convertible ahead of her and the SUV behind, she is pinned in the drive-through lane. Interior Ford Ranger, day. Wendy's attention turns to the service delivery truck.
You saw it. You just said you still feel it with you. There's no way you'll help me?
Eyes locked on the truck, she blurts with a scared whisper.
If there's another one.
As Kevin sighs, the radio suddenly, inexplicably turns on. Alternative rock blasts from the radio. Me first in the Gimme Gimme's cover of Seasons in the Sun. Exterior drive-through lane day, wider, Wendy and Kevin. They look towards the radio. Behind them, however, in the distance and up the hill, camera right, the U-Haul van snaps the tow truck cable. The tow truck driver races after the U-Haul van as it rolls down the hill, gathering momentum towards the fast food restaurant. Interior Ford Ranger, day, raking angle, Kevin and Wendy. Kevin looks to her, on alert because of the radio's sudden burst to life.
Please tell me there's a short in the wiring.
Off screen, the beep 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 alert of the service truck backing up very close to her car.
He's way too close.
Kevin reaches out and bangs on the truck side.
Hey, you're too fucking close!
Off screen, the radio begins flipping through channels. Wendy's eyes flash towards the radio. Wendy's POV, radio display. The LCD flips through the channels until landing upon the non-existent radio channel 180. And yet, music emits from the radio. The creepy, schmaltzy acoustic march of Turn Around, Look at Me by the Letterman.
There is someone walking behind you.
Wendy reacts as if, what the fuck is this? Until...
Turn around, look at me.
She holds. Tenses, sensing a message in the sick joke.
There is someone watching your footsteps. Turn around and look at me.
She begins slowly turning around. Camera arcs with her to reveal the runaway U-Haul van barreling towards the drive-thru lane. She immediately pulls her door handle.
Get out! Get out!
Kevin, trusting her instincts, doesn't hesitate to open his door. Exterior Ford Ranger day, passenger door. It opens, but only 2 inches, before being blocked by the service truck. Driver's side door. Wendy is blocked in by the order microphone post. Her door is dented by the cement pole. She desperately bangs it against the post, however, she cannot get out. Interior Ford Ranger day, Wendy and Kevin. Meanwhile, Kevin cannot spot the danger.
What?
Behind us!
Kevin looks out the rear window. Exterior street, hill day, Kevin's POV. The van speeds, swerves down the hill. Interior Ford Ranger. Wendy lays on the horn. She looks at the Mustang ahead of her and wildly gestures, go, go, go! Exterior drive-through lane, Mustang convertible. The driver doesn't even bother looking into the rearview mirror as he raises and holds a fuck-off middle finger. Interior Ford Ranger. Wendy screams, continuing to gesture at the driver. Kevin signals to the SUV behind them.
Back up! Back up!
Exterior drive-through lane, Kevin's POV, SUV. The couple in the SUV are too engaged in their own heated argument to notice anyone around them. Interior Ford Ranger. Wendy quickly checks her rearview mirror. Wendy's POV of the rearview mirror. The U-Haul approaches the restaurant parking lot. Wendy and Kevin. He protectively pulls her down to the seat.
Watch your eyes!
He slides down in the seat and places his shoes against the front windshield. He pushes harder. The glass strains. He kicks again. Exterior street, hill. The U-Haul bangs over the curb and into the parking lot. Interior Ford Ranger. Kevin kicks and the windshield safety glass crumbles. He grabs Wendy's hands and begins climbing out the window. Exterior drive-through lane. The shattering glass grabs the SUV driver's attention. Searching for the origin, he catches his rearview mirror. SUV rearview mirror, driver's POV. The approaching U-Haul fills the mirror. In the SUV, the driver throws his vehicle into reverse. Tires squeal and smoke as he pulls back. Ford Ranger. Kevin pulls Wendy through. Behind them, the SUV speeds backward as the U-Haul bears down on the Ranger. She and Kevin leap off the hood. Close, their feet. The hood dents, the front end disengages from the hood lock. Wider. The U-Haul plows into the rear of the Ford Ranger, crushing the truck bed like an accordion and thrusting the entire vehicle forward. Wendy and Kevin land on the ground and roll. The front end of the Ranger bulldozes into the rear of the convertible. Wider. The Ranger's hood flies up. The engine's momentum continues forward. The viscous coupling and metal cooling fan fly off from the engine block, spinning straight ahead. The convertible. The driver is in the midst of having been thrown forward from the impact. As he is pulled backward by momentum, the whirling cooling fan drives into the back of his head like a buzzsaw. The inner windshield is sprayed with blood. Wendy and Kevin are dotted with blood. Tufts of hair flutter about them. Amongst bits of glass and auto parts, a metallic object flies past, landing at their feet. Camera sweeps into Kevin and Wendy as they look to the object with a shocking realization. Wendy and Kevin's POV. A necklace. Scott Cheek's mud flap girl necklace, speckled with blood, sits on the grass. As Scott's hair continues to flutter, Cut to exterior university football practice field, day. Linemen scream and grunt, driving into a blocking sled. Wider. The practice field is dotted with players running extra drills. The entire team is not out here. There are no spectators, except two lone figures approaching the bleachers, Wendy and Kevin. They look out at the practice field. She averts her eyes, sad.
Reminds me of Jay.
Everything reminds me of Carrie.
Wendy sympathetically reaches out and places her hand on Kevin's back. There's a melting of tension. Although they are becoming friends, not lovers, and the gesture is appreciated, Kevin blushes embarrassed. He turns, steps onto the first stair of the bleachers, and grabs the railing. The wood stair creaks. The railing wobbles, unstable. Kevin looks to Wendy. Wendy looks to the bleachers. Kevin looks to the bleachers. Together they study the rising wooden steps and metal rods. They look to one another and in unison suddenly shake their heads as if, no way. They move off on ground level. Kevin approaches a trainer watching a practice drill.
Excuse me, Hector Romero around?
Cut to interior weight room day, overhead, Hector. Camera looks down on Hector, face red, veins straining.
Shit.
Wider. Hector completes his reps on a vertical leg press. He lies on his back with heavy weights on a bar nearly directly over his head. He finishes the set and locks the machine in place. He remains on his back on the bench, catching his breath. Wendy sits on a nearby weight bench while Kevin spots Hector.
Jessica and Jennifer were in the first car. Scott Cheek the second. You were in the third.
Fucking bullshit.
It might be Hector, but with what's happened,
What's happened is the same shit as like this guy was killed by a car he sold 10 years ago, or the sisters who were killed when they were driving to visit each other. Like that shit.
He moves towards a lateral pull-down machine. Kevin follows.
not trying to scare you, Heck.
Fucking right. Hector, don't scare.
If you think Wendy's premonition, then Jessica and Jennifer and Scott, they can be written off as a coincidence and it ends there. You live in serious fucking denial.
As Hector places heavy weights onto the machine's posts,
Hector in denial? What about you two? Look at you two lost people real close to you in a fucked up way. And in trying to get control back over your own lives or feel less guilty or whatever, you're seeing signs and patterns and shit. So you don't feel so bad. Don't blame you. But it's wrong. That's denial. Deal with Jay and Carrie and move the fuck on.
I'd be down with you. Except Wendy saw it happen before.
Hector takes a position on the machine. He reaches up and grabs the bar.
She got a hunch. Fucking intense, but a hunch. Hector's here because I get good hunches on every down.
No. You know they'll either run or pass. This came out of nowhere for her. You're here because she kept you alive.
Hell no! Hector's alive because of Hector.
Wendy and Kevin are taken aback and puzzled. Hector begins the set on the lateral pull-down machine. He pulls his arms down, causing a set of weights to rise up and over his head.
Talk about a vision Hector Romero has seen his whole life played out already. And it don't end right now. No, it's going just as he saw it started 4 years ago. 35 high school games without an injury. USA Today, All-American.
Kevin is not trying to insult Hector, but rather challenge the validity of Hector's vision.
Second team.
Free ride to play here for the Huskies.
Cougars passed on you.
4 years from now, Hector Romero will be the second round pick of the Oakland Raiders.
Hector uses the vision as inspiration to lift. His pull-downs increase with speed and intensity.
Hector's gonna run. Hector's stomp around the black hole for 15 seasons. Hang it up with 4 Super Bowl rings on his fingers and 1 for the thumb.
He pulls down.
Hector can't die. I am Raider Nation. Cut me. I bleed silver and black. Then you best look out, because I'm coming for you, motherfucker, and I won't be alone.
He lowers his arms. The weights sink behind him.
The autumn wind is a raider, and that wind is at my back. Death is a fucking Denver Bronco fan. It wears blue and orange. Hector ain't afraid of no death. Death's afraid of me.
Hector pulls down, causing the weights to rise.
Because real men wear black. Death fears the commitment to excellence. Death fears me because I just win, baby. I just win, baby. I just win.
The vertical pull-down machine, the post holding the metal weight, snaps off. Hector, several hundred pounds of weight drops upon his head. Driven to the floor, his head explodes like a rotted melon. Wendy and Kevin, as they are sprayed with blood and bits of Hector's head. Cut to exterior outside weight room, college campus, night. Police patrol car siren lights strobe and swirl as a gurney, holding 2 body bags, each holding a section of Hector Romero, is loaded into the rear of a medical examiner's van. Camera follows the police officer as he crosses to Wendy and Kevin, rattled and frightened while sitting on a nearby curb.
We're all done here. Need a ride or anything?
No. Thanks, we'll be okay.
The officer nods and moves off, but Kevin's last words resonate as he looks to Wendy.
Will we?
Kevin holds his eyes on her, accentuating his resolve.
Yeah. We'll be all right.
I should have left. It's better not knowing.
Never. It's never better being ignorant. So we need to know more.
He gets up, pulls his keys out of his pocket, and gestures for Wendy to follow.
At least we were the last ones on that coaster. So we're not next.
Maybe the others were already dead and we just don't know.
Who else was on the ride?
I'm almost positive Logan Green and Aaron Ulmer were on. I keep trying to pull up a mental image from the whatever I had.
Kevin pauses. A revelation. The camera sweeps in on him.
There is an image.
Cut to interior Kevin's bedroom, night. Digital camera LCD. A photo of students wearing McKinley High grad night T-shirts at the amusement park is displayed on the LCD.
Haven't touched that coat since that night. It's gonna burn it.
Wendy and Kevin sit on the edge of Kevin's bed looking at the camera. His Letterman's jacket hangs on the back of a chair.
The Airback staff wouldn't have been so happy about that.
I would have taken the camera out.
Kevin continues pressing the menu toggle. The LCD monitor. Photos from the fateful night flip past until an image of Carrie, smiling, fills the frame. Wendy and Kevin. He holds, trying to remain composed, as does Wendy.
Should have been ready for that.
Guess that kind of thing is going to happen to us for the rest of our lives.
However long that is.
Her initial reaction conveys offended, but his nervous whistling and a graveyard smile causes her laugh nervously.
Kind of nice to see the goofball Kevin make the return. Kind of.
He smiles but shakes his head.
No. He's gone forever. Just like her.
On the LCD, Carrie smiles back at him, frozen in time. Wendy and Kevin. She places a hand on his shoulder. Again, friends.
She'll never be gone.
I was gonna ask her to marry me. Just after graduation.
Wendy eyes him, considers telling him the truth, or at least what Carrie told her, until off screen, a beep 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 draws them both back to the camera.
Shit. Battery's low.
He begins flipping through the photos.
Go to the Blunderboard pictures.
On the LCD, the images flip past, including the photo Wendy took of the Halperin sisters, which flips past. Wendy and Kevin. Kevin pauses, then works the menu toggle.
What are you doing?
Look at that.
LCD. The images flip backwards until returning to the photo of the Halperin sisters. The sisters are screaming, having won a prize. The image is overexposed with reddish-orange light. Kevin and Wendy. She shrugs, doesn't see anything out of the ordinary.
Doesn't that look, I mean, like, I don't know how else to put it, but burned up? Like they're on fire?
Closer, LCD. The LCD fills the frame. It does. Wendy and Kevin. The image is eerie and unsettling. Beep beep. Wendy rolls her hand, gesturing to keep going. Kevin hits the toggle. LCD. The upskirt image appears. Kevin and Wendy. He forces an apologetic smile and continues.
Nothing here.
Wait! Look behind Stacy.
She points at the LCD. Closer on the LCD. Scott Cheek passes through the background. Because of the low angle, the ceiling fan is directly over his head, spinning and blurred, appearing like the fan which decapitated him.
That's Scott.
Wendy and Kevin. Both are affected by the second image. Beep, beep, beep.
I know there's one of Hector.
Kevin works the menu toggle.
We have to get to the roller coaster before the battery dies.
LCD. The photo of Hector is taken from an angle directly behind him, just as he hit the strongman game plank. His body is bent forward, arms down and appearing headless. The metal cylinder streaks upward, yet it could be seen as falling down toward him.
That looks like the weight is coming down on his head.
Wendy and Kevin are sickened by the events earlier in the day. The premonitions of the photos, frightening.
These pictures show how we're gonna die.
Don't show me mine.
You said it was good to know?
All right, I'm full of shit. I never thought I would see my own death before it happened.
She takes the camera and begins slipping past. On the LCD, photos race by, including one of Wendy's sister flipping her off. The spinning carousel, blurred except for a single white horse in the background. Finally, the memory stick reaches the image Wendy took from the back of the roller coaster train. The attendant's arm blocks a third of the photo in the center of the frame. The image turns bright blue, then black as the battery dies. Wendy and Kevin absently lean forward, hanging on every possible second.
Logan and Aaron. They were in the car after Hector.
But there's a couple of kids behind them. Couldn't make them out because the guy's arm in the way.
I have the charger cable at home.
Wendy and Kevin look to one another and pause, trying to process and accept what they've just seen. He reaches out and takes her forearm for emphasis.
Seriously. I don't want to look at our pictures. Unless we have to.
Until we have to.
Cut to exterior home improvement warehouse, nursery, night. Aaron Ulmer appears to be patrolling through a jungle as camera tracks amongst thick palm foliage. An eerie blue light rims the leaves of the trees. Her true location is established as she passes the palms and reveals an orange employee vest while checking an inventory clipboard. She stubs her foot and looks down.
Little assholes.
Aaron's POV, high angle. Lawn gnomes squat near a sign marking their prices. Wider. Aaron stands in the garden section of a gargantuan home improvement warehouse. Products are sky-shelved. 6-foot-high sections stacked 3 sections high. The appeal of the store is the ability to purchase everything, from large sheets of lumber to spritzer bottles. All of it stacked on shelves and looming dangerously over the aisles. On the shelves, a wall of clawed 3-prong hand cultivators are displayed like viper fangs. Aaron enters frame and lifts a walkie-talkie. They have affectionately nicknamed themselves after the microphiliacs and freaks.
Zip, it's Pip. You there?
Go ahead, Pip.
I'm done here. Can you cut those plywood? You cut those plywood orders yet?
Not yet. Darth Cheney wanted me to get rid of those pigeons first. They keep setting off the alarms.
Cut to interior lumber section, home improvement warehouse, night. A framing nail gun is rigged to a 32-gallon air compressor. Logan loads a cartridge of 2-inch nails into the gun, aims, fires. Beams near the ceiling. Feathers erupt as the surviving birds fly off. A dead bird carcass falls. Logan, enjoying the assignment, fires at the escaping birds.
When wood's cut, Zip, can blow out of here, all right?
Cut to exterior home improvement warehouse, nursery. Aaron moves to the security gate to secure the locks. 2 dark silhouetted figures appear outside, startling Aaron to a gasp.
Hey, it's Wendy and Kevin.
Annoyed the way one is after such a false startle, Aaron tries to catch her breath.
You scared the shit out of me.
Wait till you hear what we've got to tell you.
Cut to interior lumber section, home improvement warehouse, night. Logan steps upon a Raymond Gopher Easy Order Picker forklift. A safety harness, appearing restrictive, hangs from the top of the lift. With no supervisors on site, he blows it off, steps on the lift, and fires up the machine. High angle, third shelf, 48 4x8 sheets of 3x4-inch plywood holds in the foreground. As Logan rises 20 to 30 feet on the forklift towards the stack. Cut 2. Exterior home improvement warehouse, nursery, night, on Aaron. Having just heard Wendy and Kevin's pitch, Aaron holds for what appears to be a skeptical beat, then unlocks the gates. Wendy and Kevin are anxious to get inside and talk to Aaron and Logan. Wide, high angle. Aaron lets them inside the garden area and locks the gate.
Logan's gonna trip when he hears this.
She gestures for them to follow and starts down the aisle towards a large open cargo door leading into the warehouse. In the aisle, Aaron pushes a shopper's wheel dolly cart out of their path. The three continue, yet camera follows the gently rolling cart as it bumps into a metal shelf support. Camera rises up the support as it slightly vibrates to the second level of shelving. Camera then tracks 5 feet across the shelf to a stack of Mexican beach pebbles, which are bleached 1-inch stones. The gentle vibration caused by the cart below causes some stray pebbles to fall from the shelves. A pool skimmer. The pebbles trickle into the netting of a poled pool skimmer displayed upright with a dozen others. The gathering stones cause the weight to become unbalanced. The pool skimmer begins listing, then stops. Another stone drops, upsetting the balance. The skimmer falls. A display of garden tools. A recently overstocked shelf of garden tools is struck by the stones in the skimmer net, causing a 9.5-inch hedge trimmer with ash handle to tumble off the shelf. A box of muriatic acid is punctured by the hedge trimmer. Acid leaks. The surrounding boxes begin disintegrating. Cut 2. Interior patio aisle, home improvement warehouse, night. A poison hazard icon fills frame before 3 figures pass. Wider. Wendy follows Kevin and Aaron along the patio supply aisle, decorated with red, white, and blue banners proclaiming 4th of July sale. Aaron proceeds undeterred, while Wendy and Kevin are anxious regarding the hundreds of looming, potentially deadly objects.
Okay, in this hypothesis of yours, who's next? Me or Logan?
We know the order of how we were sitting on the roller coaster, but not how it works with people who sat together, because we don't know if Jessica or Jennifer died first.
Complicated. Death must be a lawyer.
Aaron turns into the main transverse aisle, followed by Kevin. Wendy is right behind, yet as she reaches the end of the patio aisle, a wind chime tinks. Camera inches into her as she pauses, then turns. Wendy's POV. A display wind chime sways, its subtle chime eerie. Wendy. Camera continues inching in until it quickly moves off. Cut 2. Interior lumber section, night. Close security keypad. Logan's fingers punch in a code. A dust collection system. A 55-gallon canvas bag inflates with air as a whirring 3 HP motor is engaged. An 8-foot router saw. 6,000 RPMs. The whir and motor are loud. Logan moves toward an 8x10 vertical routing saw system. A sheet of plywood is set in place. He slips, but catches himself. He looks at the floor. Sawdust. Patches of sawdust coats the floor. Logan brushes it aside with his foot, turns to the saw, and lowers his safety goggles. As he guides the buzz saw vertically along the plywood. Cut 2. Interior transverse aisle, night. High angle. Wendy, Kevin, and Aaron pass the electrical aisle and display of lights, which are dark in the off hours, and proceed along the large centering aisle toward the lumber section. Although several aisles away, the grind of the saw covers all other sound in the cavernous building. As Wendy and Kevin eye one another at the thought of Logan working a dangerous saw blade. Cut 2. Interior outdoor tools aisle, night, floor. A rivulet of acid reaches across the cement floor to a sky shelf. Shovels, axes, tree pruners lined on the second shelf. Base of the shelf. The stream of acid reacts with the metal supports, quickly compromising the shelf's stability. A metal support buckles. The second level of shelves collapses. Tools rain towards the floor. Electrical wire aluminum conduit. An axe chops directly into the metal casing. Sparks fly. Interior lighting supply aisle, night. With the rupture of the conduit, hundreds of lights, fluorescent overhangs, chandeliers, sconces, standing lamps begin eerily shorting, flashing and blinking. Closer, display lights. Camera tracks across the lights towards the transverse aisle while they spark and flash. Wide, transverse aisle. The sparks leap the aisle toward the paint supplies. Cans of paint thinner. Stray sparks fall within several dozen cans of thinner. Residue from past spills ignite, heating the cans, quickly causing a small explosion. The next aisle, high angle. Cans of paint and thinner are propelled into a standing display of 10-foot, 3/4-inch Type M red copper pipes which fall across the aisle. Another aisle over, the pipes knock into a wall of fasteners, bolts, and screws. The fasteners rain like a sheet of water into the aisle. Large spools of chains and ropes begin spinning downward. Cut 2. Interior lumber section, home improvement warehouse, night. The saw whirs as a piece of wood is cut. Finished, Logan turns it off and looks derisively to Wendy and Kevin.
So what? You're saying this is like a magic camera?
There are precedents for this premonition.
Logan and Aaron share a smirk as Kevin opens his small spiral notebook and displays a printed out photo glued to the pages of Abraham Lincoln. A line cuts through the top of the image through Lincoln's head.
This is the last photograph Lincoln posed for, February 1865. The photographic plate was broken, causing a line exactly where he was shot.
Lincoln was shot in April and through the back of the head.
Kevin flips through the notebook and lands on another photo.
The cover of Who Are You?
Definitive proof that Lincoln was seriously into the Who.
The chair Keith Moon is sitting on has not to be taken away. He died 20 days after the album was released.
Logan eyes it for a moment.
Yeah. And they sucked after Keith Moon died.
Cut 2. Interior hardware aisle, night. Spools of chain and rope continue spinning, dispensing chains downward. A Gopher Easy Order picker forklift of many raining chains. One catches the ignition switch and pulls it downward. The forklift turns on. A box of 3-inch stainless lugs fall onto and depress the forklift's dead man's pedal. Wider. The unmanned forklift begins rolling up the hardware aisle littered with fasteners and screws. The forklift steering wheel is inset with a steering knob. A chain has wrapped around the knob and pulls taut as the forklift continues. The chain spool is pulled from the shelf, trailing the forklift. On the floor, the chain spool becomes wedged between 2 toilet bowl basins. Wider. The forklift continues out of the hardware aisle into the transverse aisle. The chain around the steering knob becomes increasingly taut. Forklift steering wheel is pulled to the left by the chain. Spool of chain empties. The chain is pulled up the aisle by the forklift. The transverse aisle. The forklift drives toward the aisle designated by a yellow banner, lumber. Cut 2. Interior lumber section, home improvement warehouse, night. Logan places another sheet of plywood onto the router saw. Frustrated and desperate, Kevin steps toward him.
You were there that night, Green. You saw Wendy. You see these pictures.
Your supposition is that death is a cognizant entity.
Yeah, like a force.
A true force is just a force. Transferred energy, no plans, no goals, no awareness that it is a force. No matter what Yoda says, a force cannot be with you or against you.
Cut 2. Interior transverse aisle, night. The unmanned forklift veers toward the opposite end of the aisle in which Wendy, Kevin, Logan, and Aaron talk. Blocked by the many stacks of lumber, the forklift remains unseen by those at the end of the aisle. The lift makes contact with the shelves, stopping the vehicle's progress. The controls. Upon contact, a chain slips, pulling the fork control lever. The forks begin rising, pulling and twisting the base of the shelves. Interior lumber section, home improvement warehouse, night. Logan's position grows with intensity, causing Kevin to become increasingly fired up.
Death is just the cessation of biological function.
Yeah, all right, Green. Let me argue. Like you.
Aaron and Logan look to one another.
This will be cool.
The odds are astronomical of Wendy experiencing a premonition that caused us to get off of a vehicle that would immediately kill all of its passengers in a catastrophic accident.
Knowing where Kevin is going, Logan begins shaking his head and raises his hand, gesturing for Kevin to cease.
I can see my vocabulary is a bit much for you.
Then the same people she saved die in freakish accidents in the order in which they were sitting.
Okay, no. Let me argue like you, Flusher.
Logan begins a derisive impersonation.
We are all in line to die 6 more lives. That's more than the number of Jack the Ripper's victims. So this is some serious shit, dude.
Kevin sighs, slumps. He looks to Wendy and shakes his head.
But, whoa, dude, maybe we can outsmart Dad. What if the last in line?
He pointedly eyes Wendy, then Kevin, while dropping his mocking tone, and turns a bit unsettling in his restrained intensity.
Were to make the utilitarian choice and kill themselves. That would cheat Death's plan and save the 5 skipped lives.
He eyes Wendy.
Any takers?
He eyes Kevin.
I give you credit arguing like you allowed me to win the argument.
It's not over.
Kevin hands them a sheet of paper. Aaron takes the paper as she and Logan look at the image. Cut to interior transverse aisle, lumber section, night. The forklift forks strain against the metal supports at the end of the aisle. Closer. The shelves strain. Stacks of plywood sheets begin rising, twisting. Overhead, the forklift's encounter at the far end of the aisle affects the entire row of shelving. The highest stacks of plywood begin listing toward the aisle and the 4 people below. Cut to interior lumber section, home improvement warehouse, night. Insert image. Like the other photos, this was taken on grad night. Logan and Aaron stand at the shooting gallery counter. Aaron holds her hand up before her face, painted black fingernails outward while holding the shooting rifle in her other hand. Logan stands directly behind her beneath a row of tan rectangular banners, tapering to a point, stretch across the overhang of the shooting gallery ceiling. Logan also wishes not to be photographed. His right arm is over his face and left arm is over his head. Logan and Aaron look up, remaining unconvinced.
What does this tell you, John Edward? Aaron is going to OD on nail polish. I'm going to be.
He looks at the picture, struggles, shrugs, and turns the photo around towards Wendy and Kevin.
Embarrassed to death.
Wendy. Camera sweeps into her as she looks at the photo intense, experiencing a sudden intense realization from the image. Wendy's POV, photo. Her focus is on the tan, tapered pennants over Logan's head. Wendy, as if upon reflex, looks up. Wendy's POV, the lumber shelves. The second shelf is divided into 3 bins, containing hundreds of 1-inch by 3-inch by 24-inch surveyor stakes, individually sharp as a dagger, collectively quite heavy. A nearby price marker contains the surveyor stake shape. It matches the tapered pennants above Logan in the photo. Wendy. Camera pushes in quickly as she points to the bins.
There, those.
Kevin and Logan look up towards the bins. The forklift. The forks break through the shelving. The entire row of sky-shelved lumber begins trembling as if during an earthquake. The bin of surveyor stakes spills. Kevin and Logan. Kevin grabs Logan and pulls him clear just as hundreds of surveyor stakes rain. The third shelf, high angle. Logan and Kevin's position is now directly beneath a 48-sheet stack of plywood. The adjacent stack slides against it from the effects of the twisted shelving. Close, the binding. The wood's impact breaks the green vinyl bonds. Low angle, Logan and Kevin. Above, 4-inch by 8-inch sheets of plywood begin spilling downward. Wendy absently steps towards them, her hand pointing above.
Kevin, look out!
Whoosh, a sheet of plywood whooshes past. She leaps back. Kevin and Logan, eyes high, duck from sheets of plywood, sadistically falling piece by piece, one after another. The air whooshes as each sheet passes, splinters on the concrete floor. Aaron screams, backs out of the aisle. Kevin's POV, low angle. A sheet of plywood flies towards him, edged down like a guillotine. Kevin leaps aside just as the board splinters with a deadly crack. Logan is struck by a sheet and knocked to the floor. Above, the several remaining sheets plummet towards camera. Kevin and Logan. Kevin grabs Logan and drags him out of the way just as the boards impact upon the floor, splintering, crashing. The last board lands upon several surveyor stakes, bouncing them toward the exhaust bag of the saw. It's punctured by stakes. Fine sawdust shoots out of the bag. The sawdust sprays Aaron. She covers her face as in the photo. She backs up. Her foot slips on the layers of sawdust. Aaron falls backward. The back of Aaron's head lands flush against the nozzle of the nail gun. Aaron, hand still in front of her. Aaron's face and hand are riddled with 24 nails shot from the gun with great force. The nails are not completely ejected from her skull, but rather lodge, points out through her eyes and mouth. Blood squirts at the point of each nail's appearance. Her hand is nailed to her face, just like the photo. Wendy covers her own eyes, screams. Kevin and Logan. Camera pushes in as they react with stunned shock. Camera continues past Kevin to Logan as his eyes dart to Wendy. Wendy, trembling, she feels Logan's intensity. Logan is in the midst of an intense reversal in his doubt of Kevin's theories. He looks at Wendy as if she's responsible. Wendy takes an absent step backward, turns, and runs. Kevin tries to stand.
Wendy!
He takes a step after her, but his immediate responsibility remains at the warehouse. Cut to interior bathroom day, close, photo. The image of Aaron and Logan begins burning. Low angle, Wendy drops the paper into the toilet basin. Insert, toilet. Carbon layers the water, indicating she has burned all of the printouts of the grad night photos. The toilet flushes. Wendy. The bathroom is shared by the two sisters and is crowded with bottles and makeup accessories. Wendy holds a cosmetics travel bag and begins rummaging through the effects on the counter and hurriedly throws them into the bag. Off screen, the phone rings. Interior Wendy's bedroom, day, answering machine. After a single ring, the machine picks up.
Hello, you've reached the Christiansons. Wayne, Linda, Julie, and Wendy. Please leave a message.
Beep. Wendy enters in the background. She moves towards the phone.
Wendy, please pick up. We have to talk. I think I might have skipped Logan. Look, there's a way out of this. I'm at work on my cell.
Wendy, however, disconnects the cable from the phone and continues packing up her room. She tosses the cosmetics travel case into an already packed duffel bag. Wendy moves to her desk and picks up the Sony camera. As she turns it on, her sister, Julie, storms into the room and marches directly to the packed bags on Wendy's bed. Julie searches in the cosmetics travel bag and removes a pair of bracelets and a hairbrush. She holds them up, flashes Wendy an accusatory glare, and starts out of the room.
Hey,
Julie stops, impatient.
I can't drive you to the bus station. I'm meeting Amber and Barry for fireworks.
Wendy sighs, opting to get directly to the point.
I have such guilt over Jason.
Julie is taken aback by the admission and eases.
I told him to get on that ride twice. I'd do anything to get those words back. But I never, ever can.
Julie averts her eyes, empathetic with her sister.
I don't want to someday feel that way about you, or you have to feel that way about me.
Julie keeps her eyes downward. The lack of this type of exchange has Julie out of practice in how to respond.
When I get in a place, will you come and stay with me for a while, work this out?
Julie turns her eyes towards her sister and nods.
Okay. Yeah, I have something I need to confess to you too.
Like what?
It can wait. We'll hook up when you get it settled.
Deal. And I'll give back anything else I took without thinking.
Julie looks at the bracelets and forces a half smile. She nods and starts out of the room.
Oh, hey,
Julie pauses, impatient. Wendy indicates the camera.
can you take this to Mr. Smith at the yearbook?
Wendy looks to the camera and reacts, puzzled. Wendy's POV. The camera LCD is bright blue. Yellow font indicates no file. Wendy works the menu. Wendy's POV. The camera LCD remains blue. No file flashes as she scans for the photos.
I didn't delete the pictures yet.
Wendy considers as the camera inches in on her. She tenses but hands the camera over to her sister. Wider. Julie eyes the camera as if pleased to have such a good camera for tonight's outing. Wendy reads this as Julie heads out of the room.
I wouldn't take any pictures with it.
But Julie is gone. Camera creeps into Wendy as something doesn't sit right with her. She moves to her laptop on the desk and while standing over it operates the mouse. Laptop screen. A file icon is labeled Grad Night. She clicks it and the thumbnails of the photos appear. Wendy considers. The mouse. She right-clicks and drags the mouse. The thumbnails. All the images are highlighted. Menu. The cursor is directed toward delete the selected items. Wendy hesitates. Her instinct and memory causes her to tense. Thumbnails. The small image of the photo taken from the rear of the roller coaster car is the object of her focus. Wendy considers, desires to move on and delete the items, but the cursor moves away from delete the selected items and clicks on the roller coaster thumbnail. The picture enlarges. Wendy absently leans closer. Wendy's POV, the image. Her focus is on the passengers behind Logan and Aaron, obscured by the attendant's arm. A passenger's wrist and arm are discernible. Wendy looks closer, then works the mouse. Magnifying icon. The cursor moves over and enlarges the image 3 times. Wendy reacts, sickened. Wendy's POV, the roller coaster image, enlarged and heavily pixelated. The passenger appears to be wearing a bracelet identical to that which Julie just retrieved from Wendy's bag. Wendy. Camera inches in as she recalls Julie's recent exchange.
Something to confess.
As Wendy moves out of frame, camera inches into the image. Wider. Wendy hustles to her window.
Julie!
Exterior Wendy's house. Day. Wendy's POV. Julie's car completes a reverse out of the driveway and drives off down the street. Interior Wendy's bedroom. Day. Wendy plugs in the phone cable and dials.
This is Julie. Leave a message.
Call me on my cell right away.
Wendy hangs up and immediately dials another number. After a ring, Kevin answers.
Wendy? Dude, you can't blow me off like
Do you remember Julie being on the roller coaster?
your sister. No, all this time she would have said,
The person behind Logan and Aaron was wearing a bracelet just like the one Julie has.
it's one of those yellow Lance Armstrong things. Everyone has one.
No. It looks like the charm bracelet our grandmother gave her.
Can you make out the charms in that picture?
Wendy looks back to the computer. On the laptop monitor, the screen begins to white out as if electronically burning, as when two incompatible media players conflict. Wendy panics, desperately working the mouse.
Oh, fuck.
Laptop monitor. The LCD corrects itself, however the image has disappeared.
What? What?
Wendy tries to locate and restore the image.
The screen got weirded out. Now the picture's gone.
Thumbnails. Returning to the thumbnails, the roller coaster image is gone. In fact, all the thumbnails begin whiting out and disappearing.
Now they're all deleting.
Wendy, rattled, tries saving and retrieving the pictures.
Quick, look at the pictures of you and me.
Wendy's eyes dart across the screen. Laptop monitor. A photo of Wendy appears, head and shoulders in image size, standing before a green wooden background with an embarrassed smile, probably taken by Jason. The image eerily whites out and electronically burns. Wendy registers the image, then quickly clicks on Kevin's picture. Laptop monitor. The image of Kevin at the amusement park eating area, in which Wendy snapped the flash in his face, is already in the midst of whiting out. Wendy, as she registers the image, laptop monitor. As the image vanishes, the photo appears to be not of Kevin, but of Logan in the same exact pose. It's difficult to discern as the photo quickly vanishes. Wendy is rattled by the image's morph.
They're gone.
Check the recycle bin.
Nothing. It was. I don't think it was like.
It knows we figured it out and it's taking away our hints.
Wendy places her hand to her eyes and sighs, then gathers herself. She sits up, strong and determined.
All right. Look, Julie said she had something to confess to me. I think she was behind Logan and Aaron and Amber or Perry. Perry was. I think she was behind Logan and Aaron, and Amber or Perry was, or probably with her. They're next.
Wait, that's what I've been trying to tell you all day. Logan almost died first, but we saved him. So it skipped Logan and killed Aaron. Maybe if someone intercedes, the life that was supposed to be next is skipped.
So even if we save Julie and Amber, we're still next.
From the way we sat on the roller coaster, I'm first, and then you.
Okay, but first we've got to find Julie. She went to the 4th of July thing. Can you get there?
Exterior fireworks display, dusk. Wearing a security officer uniform and jacket, Kevin stands in the midst of people celebrating the 4th of July and gathering for a fireworks display.
I'm here now. I'm working here.
Interior Wendy's bedroom, dusk, intercut. Wendy is up and starting out of her house.
I'll go there. I'll have to steer my mom's car.
Wait, in case something happens to them before we meet up. That time we talked about when to look at our pictures. It's now.
Wendy pauses, stop, cold in her tracks.
Mine has no clue. I'm just standing in front of a green wooden background at the amusement park. Yours is the picture that came out when I flashed the light in your eyes. It's out of focus and overexposed, like.
Exterior fireworks display, dusk. Kevin, standing beneath a banner announcing the 4th of July fireworks, asks with a sense of darkly humorous dread.
Like, say, a firework went off in my face?
Interior Wendy's bedroom, dusk. The question chills Wendy.
I'm on my way.
Drive careful.
She hangs up the cell phone and hustles out. Exterior fireworks display, dusk. Kevin stands amongst the summer festival, looking as if he has suddenly been dropped in a pit of cobras. Exterior Wendy's house, dusk. Wendy races out of the house and into her mother's car. She starts the engine and tears out of the driveway. Wendy's mother's car. It changes gears and heads down the street, clearing frame. Camera holds on a car parked on the side of the road. Logan sits in the car, having been watching Wendy's house. As he turns on his engine and follows Wendy's vehicle, cut to exterior 4th of July festival, night. Pyrotechnicians finalize their preparations for the evening's display. Wires spill from dozens of multicolored mortar tubes secured into position by wood frames. Most of the frames are positioned on the ground. However, several dozen are positioned upon a platform trailer, the tires centered on each side. Metal rods are placed beneath the trailer hitches to keep the trailer bed level. Hundreds of wires lead out of the tubes to a series of electronic match igniters, which in turn lead to a computer notebook on a table, a virtual control panel, a large mortar tube. An 8-inch firework package is loaded by a pyrotechnician. He removes the red safety cap. Kevin. Positioned by a barricade keeping spectators from the area, he is near dozens of mortar tubes, possible instruments of his demise.
This 4th of July is weirding me out more than fucking Halloween.
Cut to exterior back road, night. Wendy's mother's car speeds along a dark and isolated road. Interior Wendy's mother's car, night. The speedometer pushes over 85. Wendy. Pale green dashboard lights reflect on her face. Exterior back road, night. A deer suddenly bounds across the road in the headlights. Interior Wendy's mother's car, night. Wendy hits the brakes and swerves. She tries catching her breath, but she's been quite frightened. Before she can compose, the dashboard lights turn off. Camera inches in as she tenses. Did this occur because of the near collision? Dashboard. The radio light fades up, not pops on. The display, 180. Wendy. Her breaths quicken. Her speed slows considerably. Off screen, the Letterman song plays, taunting.
There is someone walking behind you.
Wendy tenses.
Turn around. Look at me.
Her eyes flash to the rearview mirror. Wendy's POV, rearview mirror. A car follows, a distance behind, just dots of light. Then a formless black wave ripples across the small mirror. Wendy, puzzled and frightened, tries battling the presence and her fears by reaching out and turning the radio volume dial down, but the music continues. Fighting it, Wendy screams/sings at the top of her lungs.
Buddy, you're a boy. Make a big noise playing in the street. Gonna be a big man someday. I don't know the song.
Cut to exterior 4th of July festival night. A pale white horse charges towards camera. The horseman is dressed like Colonial Paul Revere.
Oh, can I do it again?
The British are coming! The British are coming!
The horse clears frame, revealing a row of tents dressed to suggest a colonial village. This is not Williamsburg, but rather a town on a budget festival celebrating founding America. Spectators stroll the area while waiting for the fireworks display. In the background, beyond the tent colonial village, people gather on a hill for a better view of the upcoming fireworks display. Kevin mans his position by the mortar, searching for Julie. A pair of sparklers ignite, showering sparks. Wider. Some early teenage boys sword fight with the burning metal rods until Kevin eases over from his post.
Dude, get out of here with those. You're gonna set these off.
Kevin gestures to the professional pyrotechnics mortar tubes. Cool. As Kevin takes an aggressive step towards them, the teenagers race away laughing. Kevin holds, away from the professional fireworks mortars. Camera pushes in as he scans the area for Julie and any potential dangers. Off-screen, a horse whinnies. Kevin's POV. Paul Revere ties the horse to a green metal 6-foot T-post. The white horse appears jumpy. He tries settling the horse by patting its neck. Kevin. Camera continues as Kevin hears off-screen.
Get 'em while they're hot.
Kevin's eyes turn toward a barbecue tent. Racks of rib and corn on the cob cook on a grill. Several shish kebabs are to the side, pierced with long skewers. A cook turns the knob on a portable propane tank. Kevin. Camera continues inching in on him. Off-screen, a clank, clank pulls his attention toward Kevin's POV. A colonial blacksmith pounds white-hot metal while holding forceps and a hammer. Sparks fly. A burning temporary forge stands behind him. An artillery soldier appears and picks up a recently made cannonball. Camera pans as the soldier carries it to a cannon on two-spoked wagon wheels. As the soldier stacks the ball upon a conical pile of cannonballs, Kevin, off-screen, a snare drum takes his eyes toward Kevin's POV, a platoon of colonial soldiers. A boy keeps time on a drum while soldiers march. Each carries a musket. Closer. A soldier. A saber is drawn from its waist sheath with a sharp foosh. Kevin, an eerie thump, like a large bird's wings, quickly takes his focus towards Kevin's POV, Ben Franklin. A cheesy Ben Franklin has released a kite while standing beside a large metal sphere. He addresses a gathered group of onlookers.
Now, let's hope for some lightning!
Kevin winces, then under his breath.
Fuck you, Ben Franklin.
Cut to exterior parking lot night. Wendy pulls into a parking space. She turns off the engine, opens the door, and hurries out of the car. Camera tracks with Wendy as she moves across the parking lot. She checks over her shoulder, concerned she's being followed by the presence. Although she sees nothing, her pace quickens. Camera tracks faster as her quick walk grows into a run. Camera pans with her to reveal the lights of the colonial tent village lies about 100 yards away. Cut to exterior 4th of July festival night. A Culpeper Minutemen flag, including a coiled snake and the motto Liberty or Death, fills the frame carried by two colonial soldiers holding flagpoles topped with large and ornate metal eagle finials. As they pass frame, Julie is revealed along with her friends Amber and Perry. Kevin sees Wendy's sister. Kevin's POV on Julie. The three girls have hooked up and are flirting with three cute boys, Peyton, Khalil, and Sean. Off-screen, an announcement.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, the fireworks will begin in 5 minutes.
Kevin checks his position. There are a few people nearby. He steps forward with his arms outstretched, shooing them away.
All right, everyone's got to move out of this area. The viewing site is over there.
People move back. Kevin gestures to the artillery soldier manning the cannon.
You too, sir.
Kevin looks towards Julie. With most people out of his area, Kevin starts towards her. The artillery soldier places a cannonball upon the conical pile of cannonballs and moves off as directed. The cannonball, however, rolls off the pile and across the ground beneath the plastic barricade, a flatbed trailer. The cannonball rolls towards one of the flatbed trailers holding several dozen mortars. Close on the trailer hitch, held level and secure by a metal rod placed under the trailer hitch, is knocked out of place by the cannonball. Trailer's wheels. The level flatbed truck, slightly, barely noticeable, teeters downward in the direction of the crowd. Exterior 4th of July festival night. Kevin approaches Julie, Amber, and Perry, and the three guys, visibly annoyed as the security guard takes Julie by the arm.
You three have to come with me.
What do we do?
Nothing.
Leave him alone then, dude. Wendy enters the tent area, quickly searching for Kevin or Julie. Kevin, Julie, Amber, Perry, and the three guys. Kevin ignores the guys and gently pulls on Julie's arm.
It's for your own safety, Julie.
Julie pulls her arm away.
Out, Kevin.
Wendy hears her sister and turns. Wendy's POV, Kevin and Julie. Kevin takes the back of Julie's arm again.
I'll explain it when we're away from here.
Okay, yeah, right. That's how Ted Bundy worked it.
Wendy starts racing towards them. However, the lights turn off. The crowd cheers. Wendy stumbles over people sitting on the grass. The flatbed platform truck. An electric match fires. Flames shoot from a mortar tube opening as the first firework rockets into the air. Closer, flatbed platform reacts to the firework launch by inching downward, increasing its angle towards the spectators. In the sky, the first firework erupts. Paul Revere's horse backs up skittish. The teenage boys see the horse's reaction and eye one another with malicious intent. Wendy continues through the crowd. The fireworks lights reflect across her face as she tries maintaining Kevin and Julie in her sights. The teenage boys set off an M80 behind the horse. Low angle, the white horse rears, terrified. Close, the horse's eyes wide and frightened, it charges off. The T-post. The rope pulls tight, yanking the T-post from the ground. Wider, the horse charges through the crowd. People in its path leap clear. However, because of the darkness and the fireworks bursting, only the spectators in the horse's path and surrounding it are aware of the events. The T-post, pulled by the rope, bounces violently on the ground. Wendy's POV, Kevin and Julie. Julie yanks her arm from Kevin, stepping away from him, yelling above the fireworks.
Let me explain this to you.
Wendy's POV. Julie raises 2 middle fingers, exactly recreating the image Wendy captured on her camera on grad night. A firework erupts, appearing like the flash of the camera. Wendy. Camera sweeps in as she recognizes the clue.
Spit it out, Wendy.
Wendy, you're muted.
She's not muted. She's
Kevin and
Wendy,
Julie,
oh my God.
as the horse charges, Julie and Kevin split apart.
Julie, let's go!
Julie falls to the ground while Kevin attempts to grab the reins. Julie, the horse passes, missing her. She rises to her elbows. Julie's POV, the T-post. The sharp-pointed edge bounces towards her. Julie. The T-post misses her, however. The attached rope doesn't. The post's momentum causes the rope to wrap tightly around her neck. Wendy. As if a strobe light effect, the fireworks flash across her horrified expression. She darts towards Julie. Kevin is about to grab the horse, turns and sees Julie. In an eerie strobe of light, Julie's veins pulse, eyes redden and bulge, gasping for air. The rope pulls tighter. In the sky, a firework erupts. The horse startles, tears in the opposite direction. Julie. The rope slacks, but in a moment, as the horse charges off the rope, once again, will pull taut and snap Julie's neck. Kevin pulls a saber from a soldier's sheath. He raises the sword. The rope, nearly fully taut, is cut. Julie falls back. Wendy quickly unwinds the rope from her sister's neck. Julie gags, trying to regain her breath. The horse races towards the tents. The severed end of the rope flails wildly. The severed rope end whips around a brass-mounted flagpole bracket and rips it from the mount. Amber and Perry run towards Julie and Wendy. The flagpole is wildly dragged across the ground towards camera, the end of the pole bouncing and catching on the ground. Low angle, Amber and Perry. The shaken friends kneel. Reverse, Amber and Perry. The flagpole bounces and spins in the foreground. Catching in the rough ground, it launches like a javelin. Low angle, Amber and Perry, on their knees. Amber leans over Julie.
Oh my God, Julie. Are you all right?
Foop! Perry's sternum erupts from the flagpole's impact. Wendy, Julie, and Amber, screaming, are spackled with blood and bone. Perry. The eagle wings have ripped through her heart. Blood drips from the ornamental finial at the end of the pole. Reverse, Amber and Perry. Perry's dead body teeters on her knees as the flag drapes her back. Liberty or death. Her body falls to the ground. Wendy. Camera whisks into her as she realizes, whispers to herself.
Kevin.
She looks up, trying to find him. Firework mortars. Flames jet from several tubes, fireworks rocket into the sky. The platform trailer tilts further downward as the mortars fire. In the sky, fireworks burst. The pale horse rears, caught in a flash of fireworks burst. Kevin makes a stab at the rope and grabs it. Wendy spots Kevin and races towards him. The horse turns, bucks. A rear hoof kicks into camera. Kevin. The hoof hits him square in the chest and throws him back. Barbecue grill. Kevin is knocked into a folding table holding equipment which scatters in every direction. A barbecue fork punctures the line leading out of the propane tank. Fuel sprays. Kevin is knocked back towards the grill, erupting with a ball of bluish-white flame. Closer. Kevin winces, intensely overexposed, exactly like the photo. The back of Kevin's jacket is grabbed by a hand. Wendy pulls Kevin backward, clear of the explosion, which quickly rolls into the air. On the ground, Kevin's face has been burned. He sits on the ground, disoriented, his open eyes unfocused.
Fucking green.
No, it's Wendy. It's Wendy.
No,
I'm with you.
no, I know you're not Logan. I can't fucking see. Everything's bright green.
Camera pushes in on her as Wendy formulates a possibility.
Logan, my picture, the background was green.
As if to confirm her thought, a subtle wind blows across her while an erupting green firework reflects over her face. She begins to look to the firework, but her eye catches something at ground level. Wendy's POV, Logan Green. Every spectator's eyes are angled to the sky except one. In the center of the crowd stands Logan Green, looking directly at Wendy. He points to her and mouths, "You're next." Wendy reaches for Kevin, then looks to Julie.
Help me.
Julie, still reeling, Julie moves to Wendy and Kevin as a festival paramedic arrives alongside Amber and looks to Perry. Logan begins moving through the crowd towards Wendy. Wendy, Kevin, and Julie. Wendy tries raising Kevin to a sitting position. Julie hustles into frame to help.
Can you stand? We need to leave here now.
Kevin's eyes are unfocused.
What's the deal?
Logan followed me. I think he might be what causes my death.
Julie looks up, shocked and confused. Kevin, however, is on his feet. He's able to walk, but needs to be guided.
There's a first aid station down this way. There'll be security.
Logan moves through the crowd directly towards Wendy. Wendy, Kevin, and Julie. Wendy supports Kevin on one side while Julie helps on the other. The three begin moving laterally to Logan's position. Logan changes his path, moving parallel with them. Wendy, Kevin, and Julie continue moving, the girl's eyes on Logan.
Where is he?
About 20 feet to our left.
He got a gun or anything?
Don't know. He's looking psycho.
Logan matches their movements. However, the strobing fireworks causes him to go in and out of the light. Wendy, Kevin, and Julie guide Kevin through the spectators. He shouts over the fireworks and music.
Get the fuck out of here, Green!
Logan presents a derisive and ironic tone, beneath which lies a dangerous lair.
Why? Just celebrating our nation's independence.
You followed me.
You're paranoid. Oh, but hey, I saw what happened and you're next. Aren't you? You're the end of it. Aren't you? I'd be paranoid too.
You didn't even believe me.
Seeing is believing.
If you believe me, then you have to get away from me.
Have to. That's extreme. Why?
In her hesitation, he considers, then realizes.
No way. Do I cause your death?
Camera pushes in as Logan's tone turns dark.
The way you caused Aaron's.
Get the fuck away!
Shut up!
The group is approaching the fireworks launch area. Mortar tubes, like surreal organ pipes of flame, fire shoots intermittently yet intensely out of the tubes. The platform trailer teeters. Wendy, Kevin, Julie, and Logan, as they continue moving towards the fireworks launch area, the fireworks become louder.
Cool. What'd you see? What was I in a vision?
Wendy cannot ignore him, but she looks ahead. Wendy's POV. A first aid tent lies 20 yards ahead. A security guard stands outside, looking up at the fireworks. Wendy, Kevin, Julie, and Logan. Logan realizes they're heading towards the station.
Was I in a picture? Was I standing in front of this tent?
He hustles up and cuts off their path to the tent. Wendy keeps Kevin and Julie moving. However, they veer to move around Logan and now are positioned between the fireworks area and Logan.
How do I start it off? Tell me. Let's get it over with.
Logan grabs a bunch of balloons, strung together, including several patriotic stars and stripes balloons and a pair of yellow smiley balloons.
Your vision, was I floating through space? Was I smiling?
He mocks a smiley face, then angrily tosses the balloons aside. The balloons are blown across the ground, rolling, tumbling, and rubbing against each other. Camera adjusts to reveal the balloons are being blown towards the platform trailer. A fireworks circuit. The balloons roll over a series of electronic matches attached to a wooden plank. The wiring causes the balloons to burst and releases several small sparks of static charge. The igniters fire. The platform trailer, large mortar tube. Flames belch from the largest mortar on the platform. The platform trailer reacting to the launch, the front end fully falls towards the ground, raising the back end. Wendy takes a frustrated and angry stab in Logan's direction.
You'll save me if you just stay away. Then it'll be all over.
A rack of mortars encased in a wood frame falls over, the openings aimed at ground level. The mortars before them are ignited, lighting the fallen rack's fuses. Logan takes an equally aggressive step towards Wendy.
What do I care? It's over for me. It skipped me. I'm not gonna die.
Fallen mortar openings. 4 tubes erupt with flame. Kevin reacts with pain to the light. Julie, the reflection of light on her face sharply intensifies as she reacts with shock. Wider. Julie grabs Kevin and her sister and pulls them to the ground just as 4 rockets scream over them, cascading sparks. Logan, a direct hit by the rockets, he's knocked to the ground. Wendy, Kevin, and Julie roll, see Logan and react with shock. Logan becomes enwrapped by colored flame. The timing charges ignite, causing Logan to disappear within an intensive ground-level shower of sparks, flame, and explosive sound. Wider. Wendy, Kevin, and Julie, in shock, hustle away from the smoldering body. Wendy trips on an object at her feet. She bends down and picks up the yearbook camera she gave to Julie earlier, lying on the ground.
I didn't even take any pictures. I swear, I'm taking it back on Monday.
Wendy tenses as she looks to Kevin, then throws the camera on the ground and steps on it, causing a gnarly crack.
No more fucking pictures.
The three can't get away fast enough, walking away from the scene even as emergency personnel rush in to attend to Logan's body. Camera arcs back, dropping to ground level, pushing into the digital camera still resting on the ground. Camera holds, then the lens on the digital camera unexpectedly returns to life, adjusts as if focusing. As the white flash fills the frame, we white out.
And then what? And then what happens?
I feel
What
like
happens,
it's not
George?
over.
What happens?
And
I just really feel like the movie's
that's
not
it. See you
ended.
in the worst one, the fourth one. Goodbye.